Can you hear me now? I kind of want to work this out because I'm going to go live from midnight because I'm hoping that tomorrow in America is the day that Amber goes on the stand. Right. So here's the issue because if I play a video, I have to mute, which is going to make reacting a bit annoying because I don't want to cut into the live coverage too much. I figure we've got those 15-minute breaks when the court has a break as well that we can chat. Yeah, well, I've reverted back to the original, but I'm just going to pop this dude up and we'll see if we've got the echo issue as usual because I'm really good at tech. Like I love computers and stuff. I cannot sort this out, like what setting I have to have so that I can wear the headphones, but you guys are going to be able to hear stuff. But I'll just play a little bit of this guy and let me know if there's an echo.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson. By the way, guys, it worked out great last time for us. So before we even get into anything, thumbs up the video.
That's a guy called Cam Williams that I'm going to play a bit later just in case. So there was an echo. Right. So I need Alt Windows Tab. That's my Bluetooth settings. I disconnected my headphones before. Yep, echoes. I need headphones, but this is the problem because I put these on, right? And now I did the 3 keys, Joey. You won't be able to hear me now. I'm taking them off for a sec because that's when you couldn't hear me, was when I had them on. I believe the settings is actually in StreamYard. I've got to make sure that I have the right. No. I've got to have the right settings. Yeah, I'm on a PC. I've got to have the right settings in StreamYard. I think that's actually the issue. I have got buds as well, but I suspect it'll be the same as the headphones until I work out how to stop this friggin' echo. Because the only way I'll be able to watch the trial live at the moment until I work this out. And I'll have a crack at it a bit later. By the way, Batshit's going to be tomorrow night. Finn's got plans tonight. So just make a note of that. It'll be tomorrow night. I'll be setting that up later so you can hit the reminder button. But it's the settings in StreamYard. I might have to watch a video. So can work it out with you guys. You don't mind waiting? Yeah, the problem is when you go into settings in StreamYard and you select your audio settings, at the moment, my mic, I'm using the Snowball because the mic, I had the setting for the mic on my headphones, but you guys couldn't hear me at all. Let me try see if I disconnect the Snowball, if it will kick in the mic on my headphones, which are not as good as the Snowball, but hang on. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me now. Woohoo! All right, so that's that. But now I've got to see if I can hear Cam Williamson through my headphones.
Video, thumbs it up now. That way you guys don't have to worry about.
All right, we're nearly there. Because, hey, Cement Shoes. Hey, Emily. We're doing some tech stuff. So when I go live at midnight in Australia, watching the trial, I'll be able to, I won't have to keep muting. So the next thing I've got to work out is the settings for the speaker, I reckon.
About it later. Subscribe so you see it.
Still nothing.
Everything when it
I'm
goes.
just trying
hit the bell.
Different settings in StreamYard. It's not just the echo though, guys. You're missing. I need to wear headphones, and I'm trying to work out the settings in StreamYard so that I can use the mic on my headphones, which we've just sorted out. But now I can't hear what I'm playing, so I'm now trying to work out the setting for that. There's no point me watching a trial with headphones on if I can't hear the trial, the live coverage, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm just going through one by one the different settings in StreamYard for the speaker, which is what I get to hear. Because you guys should hear the court tonight playing through YouTube, but I need to hear it too, and that's what I'm trying to work out. Please work.
So you see it when it goes live. We are back, yo, in the grateful. Words. I'm grateful.
I've run out of settings in StreamYard. I can't hear Cam on any of the settings. I'm just going back to the start again.
Gwen Stefani's grateful in the word. Words of Gwen Stefani.
No good. No bueno.
This is banana.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to Google it and troubleshoot it because, yeah, hit those thumbs up, groovers. Yeah, it's problematic because although you can hear me using, like you can hear the microphone with me using my headphones, I can't hear any audio at all. So if I'm streaming, like I've got Cam up on screen, if I'm streaming the court later, I can't hear a word. I'll have to do some Google machining. And I've got pods as well. They may be better, but what a pain. I've got the most bloody high-tech headphones on. And actually, the microphone that's currently working is the microphone on my webcam. It's not even my headset. Hang on a sec. So that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I will do some troubleshooting because I need to get it worked out before I go live at midnight. But I'll be like every other channel that's pretty much just playing the trial. And yeah, we can have a little bit of a chat when witnesses are swapping out and when there's a 15-minute break and stuff like that. But I don't want to keep chatting so that I don't want to stop the stream. No, I don't have YouTube on at the same time. I mean, it definitely can interfere with sound. I'll double check my other browser doesn't have anything open. Hang on. Nope. Let me just check I don't have a media page that has some little video running on its page. Nope. It's one of those things, as soon as I work it out, I'll be like, duh, that's always the way. Oh, now I hope everyone's got their mega pint. I've got a mega pint of iced coffee. Because I was contemplating going live at midnight for us, like this just night gone. But I worked yesterday and I got home and I tried to have a couple of hours sleep to get up at midnight. But when I woke up, I was kind of like, well, I think that Monday was the worst day for witnesses for Johnny, and I wasn't really keen to try to do midnight till 6 a.m. I think it finishes in Australia, of another day of shitty witnesses. And to be honest, it's worth streaming live for Amber, but the other stuff we can all chat about later. Hey, Megapint Healy. We will be having a watch party for the Die Hard addicts. I will be getting up at 11:30ish tonight to go live and stream the trial. For anyone who wants to join me, there is a huge advantage for watching it on my channel in that, like any other channel that's streaming it, you'll be able to watch what's going on, but chat will be moving at a pace where everyone can engage and discuss stuff. Because as much as I find it fascinating watching some of the bigger channels that have got 11,000 people watching, chat is a nightmare. So if you're up for a stream where you can actually chat about it in chat, and like I said, I don't want to stop and start it, I'm just going to let it run. But every time there's essentially a pause in proceedings, whether it's a change of a witness or the 15-minute break or the lunch break, that's when we can whack my mic on and have a chat. You caught the lawyer's arguments just trying to get Amber going on the stand. She's not on the stand yet, Joey. She hasn't been called yet. There's a lot of talk that it will be tomorrow, so that's why I'm getting up at midnight, because I don't want to miss her on the stand. She is why I'm going to be getting up at midnight. Also, there's going to be a break from the 9th till the 12th of May, which sucks. Because if you're a bit addicted to the trial, it's already bad enough putting up with the weekends in between. So, yeah, we're all going to have to find something else to watch and talk about, because there will be a break. The Judge Penny's got a conference to go to. So there's going to be a break next week, which is an interesting thing, because I personally, as a defense lawyer, if something like that came along in the middle of us doing the defense, to me, it's not a bonus. It's actually bad, because as a defense lawyer, you want to get on a bit of a roll, and defense has kicked off in the trial. We'll chat about those witnesses in a minute, but yeah, but if you're getting on a bit of a roll and you're getting a bit of momentum going, to suddenly have a break like that can be really hard. And although people say, oh, it gives the legal teams time to go back and review everything, they're already working around the clock. Trust me. They are working through the night. They're working on weekends. They're on top of what they need to remember to ask about or cover. So a 3-day break is, I think, from a defense perspective, and I've got to say it, like, as much as I don't like Amber's legal team and their style, Rottenborn was actually quite good on cross-examination with the last of Johnny's witnesses. But Yeah, for me personally, I wouldn't like the break, and I don't see the advantage of it at all. And the other thing is, if Amber is mid being examined or cross-examined when that break happens, depending on how things are going at that point in time, that could also have a crucial impact on the outcome, in my opinion. So anyway, we'll wait and see. And reminder, Batsy will be on tomorrow. Good morning to you, Megapint Healy. So yes, we will be going live at midnight. Like I said, it will be a stream like every other streaming person out there. But one major advantage is being a smaller community, we'll all be able to engage in chat together and have some good discussions during the breaks and when they're swapping out witnesses and so on. So if you'd like to do that, I mean, I've been watching a bit. Like I did get up thinking I'd go live at midnight and decided not to, but I listened and watched a bit before I fell asleep. And then I woke up again at 5 and watched the last hour and a bit of it live as well. But the chat, there's no point even trying to participate in it. It's just flying. And, you know, I personally like a channel where I can chat. So it's up to you guys, but it'd be lovely to see. I'm watching it anyway, so I figure I might as well go live and do it. As in, I pressed record and got the arguments instead. I'm still a bit confused. So hard to talk with little characters. So hard to understand with little characters. You're barely sleeping. Hey, Lawless Corner. I keep thinking about the cost. What did I hear the other day? I heard it's something like $100,000 a day for the legal teams, but I actually think it would be $100,000 just for the principals. I reckon Ben Chu and Mr. Rottenborn would be $100,000 a day easy. I never charged that, by the way. I was never that kind of a lawyer. My hourly rate was significantly smaller. I mean, I think some of their hourly rates would be pushing those figures sometimes too. To tweet or not to retweet? That is the question. The tweet got mentioned. I've got a list of things I want to go through, and I do want to have some questions and chat. Like, we can be live for 5 hours now if you want. I don't care. We've got heaps of time. But I'll try. I want to cover just the stuff I've got up to speed on and see how any of you guys feel about that. And also, there's probably some stuff I've missed. I have literally, fell back asleep listening to it live. Got the last hour and a half this morning. I've been playing a few different channels to try and get up to speed. I've been to the gym. I came back, had a shower, washed my hair, and I've gone live. So there's possible stuff that I still haven't caught up on. No, we'll talk about the lawyers too and their styles, because I personally, and you guys are technically like a jury, like you're the public, you're the people that get put on a jury. So we'll chat a lot about how you feel about stuff. I've never been able to be a juror, and I never will be, because the lawyers aren't allowed to be put on juries. But me personally, like taking myself out of the legal sphere, and I haven't been a trial lawyer for a couple of decades. So, I mean, as much as I remember what I used to do to endear myself to juries and so on, I'm still not practicing in that area where I've got very definite opinions. But me personally, if I was sitting on that jury, that legal team lost me a long time ago just with their attitude. And then, did any of you see in Amber's team, sort of, I'm calling him Junior Mr. Rottenborn, the younger attorney that was just like rapid firing questions and just really cocky and arrogant? Oh my God. I just wanted to punch him in the face. Oh, sorry. Maybe Amber should do that. Whereas on the other side, you've got Ben Chu, who looks like he's stoned off his face half the time and just eating lollies and giggling in court. And then he got up and absolutely blasted the motion to strike. He was sublime. He was superb. He was so good. And my dad used to be like that too. Like, Dad would, and the judge that I worked for, the judge would be asleep. Literally, I could hear him snoring sitting behind me. And then one of the lawyers would ask him a question, and without missing a beat, he'd respond in the most eloquent, perfect sentence. My dad used to be like that too. We used to play Trivial Pursuit, and Dad would fall asleep, and we'd get around to him and be like, Dad, what was the name of the British warship built in 1922 to honour Queen Elizabeth? And he wouldn't even lift his head up or open his eyes. He'd just go, and we'd be right every time. Unbelievable. Thanks, Joey. That would be lovely. Our batshit is tomorrow night, and it will be, I'm still waiting to work out with Finn the time, but because I'm going to be watching the trial from midnight, probably be a bit later than usual. It might be like 9:30 or even 10 p.m. Australian time, because then I can just stay awake till the trial starts again. But it will depend on Finn. I said to him, you need to let me know the latest we can go live if you've got a little nana bedtime. But I'll be setting it up, so I will. You'll be able to set it for a notification and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, let's get Hollywood vampires trending. I was saying last night or yesterday on one of my lives, I did one live yesterday, the drive into work. I think everyone in Australia would go and see them play every single gig just as a way of apologising for what happened to Johnny when he was in Australia with Amber. Meg wanted to do an Aussie watch party. Of what, Joey? DW. You're confusing me so much. It is a lot of money. Are they going to call it Marbo money available barristers only? Could be. Have you actually read the op-ed? Yes, I have. Not for a while, though. Oh, and also, I will not be commenting on their depositions or anything from the trial in the UK with the Sun, because I really want to watch this objectively. I find it quite funny that her lawyers are relying on that trial in some of their questioning, just like they're, relying on tabloids as solid evidence. But I'm aware of what happened with the trial against the Sun, the case against the Sun, but I don't want to know anything about it. So I'm trying to remain objective, even though I'm incredibly biased at the moment, and so is Dr. Hughes for Amber Heard's team. You think changing the PR firm is suspicious and sneaky? I think having a PR team when you're in court is sneaky, full stop. And hi, Crystal, too. They won't let me either. Something about having to keep one's clothes on. Well, you do need to wear clothes on jury duty. Is Johnny allowed back here? Yes, he is. I'm sure of it. Melmo and I are not in the same time zone at all. So, no, Australia has it has 3 at the moment. And then when there's daylight saving, it has 4. But I'm Australian Eastern Standard Time. So, but when I set reminders and stuff, it automatically converts to your time zone. That's one thing I love about YouTube. I don't have to factor any of that shit in. Scout, I have Tori 14 hours ahead of us. She's in New York. Hobart's in your world clock. We have 3 at the moment, and we have 4 after daylight saving, because at the moment we're in the same time zone as Queensland. But when daylight saving stops, they end up being an hour ahead of us or behind of us, and then SANT are on their own time zone, and then Western Australia's on its own one. So yeah, at the moment, we've got 3 and an imaginary one with daylight saving. It's not imaginary though, it's real. So over summer there's 4 time zones, and in winter there's 3. Okay. Behind. That's right. I was trying to remember, because with Finn, with us doing batshit, it's always later for me, because when he's like, let's go live 10:30 my time, I'm like, dude, that's 11:30 for me. No way. And now I'm going to get up at midnight to watch this trial. We don't have daylight saving. Tried it, didn't work. Yeah, because it fades the curtains, right? All right, so a few of the things I want to just go through that I got out of this trial, and then I've got this guy's channel lined up, Cam, that I want to play after I do my little wrap-up of what I've seen today, because his is like a 13-minute video sum-up of it as well, and he might have raised some other stuff. I don't know this guy from a bar of soap. I just spotted him in the list, and I was like, he's a little channel, and by little, I mean he's bigger than me. He's got about 5,000 subs, but I don't want to support the channels that have got 50,000 subs and 1 million subs. I'm all about supporting the younger ones, so smaller ones. So I'll be playing his as well. And in fact, I might play him first and then do my summary. No, I'll quickly run through my summary, then I'll play him, and then we'll start chatting about everything. Sound good? Yeah, it's 1:16 p.m. here, correct. Daylight saving puts the cows off their milk. Doesn't here in Tassie. We got good dairies. You need a mega pint for the different times. Finn works in one time zone and lives in another. And he lives in Queensland. So sometimes we're on the same time zone and sometimes we're an hour apart. All right, so what I want to talk about primarily, I mean, we could talk about heaps of shit, but the main stuff that I've picked up, I think the money shot today, I think the best moment of the entire thing was Ben Chu, Johnny Depp's lawyer, on the motion to strike when he got to respond, pointing at Amber Heard and calling her the abuser. Yeah. It was a rock star moment. It was a rock star moment. That kind of stuff is very effective. And I reckon the jury would have been very, impacted by that. His response on the motion to strike, which unfortunately is a step of legal proceedings that happens a lot in civil matters, but very rarely succeed. Although I noted that Judge Penny disallowed the motion to strike on 2 things, but she needs to take advice on a third. But it's very unlikely it's going to get up. But it is technically under advisement. I mean, I'm only just starting to learn some of the American wordage as well, especially because we've watched a lot of criminal trials and this is a civil one and they are different. So, but him pointing at her and calling her the abuser, that was, I think, the money shot in the last day, on day 13. In terms of Rottenborn and the motion to strike, that on the basis that JD is the abuser, but I actually find him quite frustrating because he's repeatedly saying, I don't want to waste the court's time. And yet the person who's wasted the court's time the most, in my opinion, has been him faffing around trying to find documents. Like Johnny Depp pointed it out. He's like, well, it took you 5 minutes to find a document. This constant him saying that. And at the end of the day, if anyone was wasting the court's time, the judge would say something. And I find that really arrogant of him because he uses it in a way that's quite derogatory against Johnny and his team, and even the witnesses and Johnny when he was on the stand. And that kind of stuff fucks off a jury because it's perceived to be rude, and it is actually rude. So I think if he wants to go for this sort of hardline, aggressive style, that's one thing. But you've got to temper it with moments of generosity and kindness as well for it to really, I think, be effective for a jury. I think this just bang, bang, bang the whole time. But yeah, the number of times, I feel like taking a shot every time he refers to not wanting to waste the court's time, because in my experience, the court has got all the time in the world to hear evidence and allow a jury to make a decision. And the only time they don't is when the judge says, this is wasting our time. Until that happens, shut the fuck up. It's not your call, Mr. Rottenborn. So there. I want to put my mic back in. Hey, AJ. Oh my God. All right, we're back. Bloody hell. Let me just check my audios, my snowball. Awesome. Okay. I need a tech team. I need a tech team. All right, so I've covered a few things. So I'll see what you guys are saying in chat before I move on. Yeah, when he pointed at her and called her an abuser, was very powerful. That was the golden moment, I think. No, it's not. It's hang on. I remember I had a video where I spoke over another video. I looked and maybe you need to turn the echo cancellation off. All right. Sorry, we briefly interrupt this summation of the Depp versus Heard trial to do an experiment. Everyone's been telling me that everyone that live streams wears or does reactions has to wear headphones, so I suspect this might already be, but you never know. I mean, I'd prefer to not wear them.
Bananas, BANANAS. We are on day
Tell me if there's
13.
an echo.
We spent most of the morning dealing with the motion for mistrial or to dismiss or to strike certain parts of the rec.
I know it's bugging you, Joey, but I really want to get on with this chat. So just make notes and we can chat. Because I've sat up and listened to heaps of stuff and I really want to chat about the trial. The tech stuff, I can jump onto YouTube later and try and work it out. There's no echo. Right, so okay then. Why is everyone telling me you must wear headphones if turning that off fixes it? Have they not discovered it? Joey, you need to do a video and tell the YouTubes. No, I know, I know it was you trying to fix it that was bugging you, but I want to get on with my chat because I've got to sleep this afternoon so I can get up at midnight. I'm an old woman. And also I'm just trying to keep with the flow of things. But he fixed it, I think, Joey. I reckon you need to do a little video and teach everyone that. Now I've got to get back up into chat because I do want to talk about the... Now I've lost my thought. Yeah, I've completely lost it. Give me a moment. I'm going to regroup. If anyone needs to go to the loo, have a cigarette, this is the time to do it. Just talk amongst yourselves. But Joey fixed the echo thing, so that's awesome. And I think you should do a video teaching everyone how to do that. I did a video a few years ago of how to unblock people in your Google account because all these creators had heaps of people blocked, but they weren't showing up in their block list on YouTube. And I discovered that it's because there's a list in Google accounts as well. You haven't watched today's yet. Looking forward to it now. I've heard of all of your... Oh, no, you haven't heard all of my views yet. Megapint, I'm just warming up. Yeah, no, you fixed it, Joey. You're a champ. All right, back to the trial groovers. And Joey, like I said, do a little video because I reckon that would be so helpful to a lot of YouTubers. I bet you, though, I've just got this awful feeling I'm going to go live tonight and everyone will be like, there's an echo. Because there's never an echo with Finn. I never wear headphones with Finn. And I have echo cancellation on when I'm with Finn. It's wonky. It should just be the same way for everything, right? Joey is the production man. In fact, I might have to put Joey in the opening credits for Better Call Saul as the production manager. Let me make a note of that. I've got so many notes. Joey, production manager, and echo fixerer. How bizarre that one little box can make no echoing when I'm live with Finn, but when I'm on my own, if that's clicked, there's an echo. Explain that, StreamYard. Another boomer. Who's a boomer? If you call me a boomer, Lola, I'm a Gen X, for fuck's sake. I had a troll call me a boomer the other night too. Crystal, you're not caught up because your dad you worked on to add more to your patio today. Oh, cool. Well, this is meant to be a catch up, so that's what we're going to do. I'm glad you're home able to chat too, AJ. Joey did fix it. Oh my, and Joey said it. I thought it was someone else who went, oh my God, Joey fixed it? And it was Joey who said that. Okay. Put earmuffs on, True. True. All right. Yep, smoke them if you have them, folks. Oh yeah, AJ, I'm gonna go through my list of stuff and then we'll have a chat. My God, this is getting me confused, and I'm so sleep deprived, so I'm gonna have to be really methodical. Sorry, Groovers. I'll go through my little list of observations, and then we'll have a chat about them. And then I'm going to play this channel that's not a massive one because I want to promote the smaller channels that are covering this as well. I don't know Cam from a bar of soap, but I just found him in my list. Oh yeah, and I've got stuff to say about Dr. Hughes, but I'll just run through my little list because, yeah, hi, Emily. Oh, bloody bat. Go fuck yourself, Lola. Jesus, man. I'm doing something important. I'm getting up at midnight to cover this. I think that makes me a legend. Emily, you'd like to be a talent scout? For sure. Where's Joey's name? I'll put it with that. But seriously, guys, I do want to get on with her Depp stuff. So I'm not going to read chat for a little while because you guys are all over the show. What is it, Emily Talent Scout? You can all just be erratic in chat. I'm just going to go through I'm going to look at my notes and not look at your chat. There's a reason I've got a mega pint of iced coffee. I'm sleep deprived. Emily is on location and can't be reached. I do like that. That's funny. Location and can't be reached. I will update the opening for Better Call Tour. At some point I'm going to have to stop though because it'll end up being 30 minutes long. I love you, Lola. I call him a fucker and he laughs. That's very Aussie. Very Aussie. All right, now you guys can all chat and you can divert and troll as much as you want, Emily. Go for it. I just won't read chat because I'm easily distracted. But I'm so excited that Joey fixed that echo thing. Where's Joey gone? Joey's going to cry. Because you're going to be in the credits? Throw up lots of some sort of celebratory emoji for Joey sorting out the echo issue. And I'm not going to touch a thing. And when I go live tonight, I will cry too. If the first thing someone says in chat, there's an echo, I'll be like, I quit. I am going to try and troubleshoot though. And see if what the settings are. Because now I'm curious. I'm a problem solver. That's why I became a lawyer. Because we solve people's problems usually. Just not good at... You're being a big old sook. Look at all the you rock groovers and party whistles and party hats. I don't know what Lawla's corner emoji is. It just looks like a rectangle to me. See, Emily's getting ready for bed. So we're going to just do a quick recap. It was a really good day. It was a lot better than Monday. Monday was appalling. Johnny Depp's witnesses were really shit. It was actually very depressing to me. And I kept thinking they must have had some kick-ass killer witness up their sleeve to end on because of how bad the witnesses were on Monday, USA Monday, Tuesday for us. And if there were any witnesses that wrapped up JD, I didn't see or hear anything about them. I kind of... Oh, there was a little bit left of... Hang on, there was. But anyway, now I'm confusing myself. All right, so I'll go through the notes I've made on what I have been able to work out from falling asleep to it when it kicked off at midnight because I had a tiny nap, but I had such a big day at work yesterday that I was so buggered. I did see my optometrist, though. I'm getting a couple of new pairs of glasses. I'm very excited about that. But I then went back to sleep and I woke up at about 5 a.m. So I got to see the last hour and a bit live. And then I've been jumping from a few different channels to just try to get up to speed on it. So there's stuff I know I still haven't seen without actually playing the whole 7 hours in court straight. But the first thing was that I think with the motion to strike, Ben Chew's response and actually pointing at Amber after going through all of the evidence they've given so far and saying Amber Heard is the abuser was a really good moment. There's a bit of talk about a tweet that I need to look into that a bit more because I'm kind of missing the point on who wrote the headline. Like, I don't see what difference that makes, but there might be something more to that. But anyway, the motion to strike has failed in 2 parts, and Judge Penny, like me, is going to be taking the tweet impact on advisement, so I will be too. But the key points, other than the Amber's the abuser, first we had the nurse, and the nurse was, I think, like Amber Heard's nurse, I think her evidence was quite negative towards Amber, because now we're getting to hear all of Amber's little issues and problems. She reported herself as having some kind of undisclosed eating disorder, ADHD. She mentioned bipolar, talked about her drug history, all of that sort of stuff. So the nurse kind of gave us a lot of dirt on Amber without any evidence really backing any of it. I mean, self-reporting doesn't prove anything, and even if it did, it was all showing that she's a bit of a messed up kid as well. There was something I noticed the other day that I was listening to driving home on Monday night, or was it? No, it was Monday night. Elaine, the lawyer that sounds like Diane from Diane's channel, was talking about Amber's weight loss. And I'm like, hey, cocaine will do that for you. Like, let's not make out that it was Johnny being abusive that led to this weight loss. If you're starting to have access to a shitload of drugs because your husband's filthy rich and clearly has access to whatever drugs you want, ecstasy, he got them for her, coke, all those $500 bottles of wine. If you've got a diet of wine and cocaine, you're going to lose weight. Duh. How do you think supermodels stay so thin? Just ask them. So yeah, the nurse, whatever. Rumours are abounding that Amber will be taking the stand tomorrow, which is why I'm going to be up at midnight. We had evidence from Mr. Spindler. He was the forensic accountant who was talking about the amount of money that Johnny Depp lost because of the op-ed and ended up at a figure of 40 million. And what was interesting about that was he was actually a really good witness, but he had a chart that Rottenborn asked to be shown. And in the chart, there was a sort of a fluctuation each year of Johnny's income, and Mr. Spindler explained how he chose 2018, I think, as the year to, or was it 17, whichever one. The reason was because in one of those other years, Johnny was travelling and touring with the band, like going on holidays and travelling with the band. And Rottenborn, rightly so, kind of put it out there that this guy had chosen, you know, like a model year essentially, where Johnny's earnings were significantly higher than the year immediately after the op-ed. And what should have been, I think, put at that point with that chart on the screen, that was a really good opportunity for the forensic accountant to say, well, the reality is if you average his salary across all of those years on the chart, he's sitting around 45 million every year. So does it really matter what year I chose? Like, if you have a look at it, some years are up a bit, some are down a bit, but if you average it across it all, you're looking at 45 million. But that evidence didn't come out. So I think that was a lost opportunity. That's the nerd in me. They're the little kind of things that I pick up on that I'm like, that would have been a really good way for the forensic accountant to give evidence. Just that it was I did choose 1 year. This is the figure that I reached. But if you look at this chart of Johnny's salary over those 10 years or whatever the chart covered, the average across all of them was the same figure. But that wasn't utilised. So I think that was a lost opportunity. because and that is the reason I've picked in or honed in on that particular point is everyone's got to keep reminding themselves this is a defamation trial. So all of the dirt that's coming out isn't actually the crucial evidence. The crucial evidence is, did that article amount to defamation? Could it be implicated, inferred that it was Johnny she was talking about? And the evidence the other day, did she have another husband who abused her? Like, of course the inference is it was about Johnny, which that was a brilliant bit of testimony. And also the damages, like what has Johnny lost as a result of that article? They're the really crucial things. All this other stuff, all the other dirt and everything else isn't really crucial to proving the elements of defamation. But this is another thought that I keep having over and over and over again. Amber's entire defense is that op-ed was not about Johnny, yet her team have essentially put out a heap of stuff that they believe is proving that Johnny is an abuser. Therefore, are they not proving that her op-ed was actually about Johnny, the abuser? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm fascinated by this trial, and I'm fascinated hearing all this stuff coming out and getting a bit of an insight into an extravagant lifestyle when you've got millions and millions and millions of dollars. But this thought keeps going over and over and over in my head, which is, if you're going to go hard to prove that Johnny Depp is an abuser, which clearly he is the abused, in my opinion, so far watching the trial, then you are essentially proving to the court that op-ed is about him, even though he wasn't named. Like, to me, they are successfully proving one required element in defamation. So hang on to that, because I'd really like to hear your views on it, because that's one thing that I just keep thinking over and over again is, while all of this evidence is coming out, are they not essentially giving the jury all of these examples of Johnny's alleged abuse, which clearly points to the fact that article was about him? And if I'm missing the point, I'd love someone to explain to me why, because it's bugging me. I keep thinking about it every day. It's like, wouldn't you be trying to prove that Amber thought he was a saint and that article had nothing to do with him because he was such a saint? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, earmark that little question. Yeah, so we talked very briefly before about Amber's team and how they're very aggressive, and that junior Mr. Rottenborn was very aggressive. I didn't actually like listening to him, but I do need to go back. But fuck, he was like a steam train. He just, vroom. Very effective style of cross-examination, but when you're already in a team that's not very endearing, that just made it look even worse as far as I was concerned. And the reason I'm mentioning this is there's a really fine line between endearing yourself to a jury but showing you're very skilled as a lawyer and putting a jury off because you're just constantly aggressive and rude. And the reason that's significant is that Mr. Rottenborn is actually has been very good in cross-examination for the days this week. It didn't help that Johnny's witnesses weren't great, but I think his skill in cross-examination is getting lost a bit because people are already looking at them as a really aggressive, rude bunch of lawyers. And I would have thought, as a juror, like a member of the public, if I'm sensing that as a lawyer and watching the cross-examination, I can see the stuff he's doing that's really impressive, but is the jury seeing that? So yeah, then we had the motion to strike, and Ben Chu crushed it with that Amber is the abuser moment. That was really powerful, which is why I've got a photo of him and Amber as my thumbnail. What else? Then, I mean, there's a bit of stuff that Ben Chu said a lot of great things, like he was talking about, would a true victim of violence want to breach a restraining order and meet up with the abuser like she requested? You know, so all these things that have come out so far, it's like she's not acting like a victim at all. And that's generally, victims generally do not call their abusers, especially once they've escaped them. So that was a fairly powerful thing to point out too. And it's all indicating as well this ploy for her with the divorce, like even getting that restraining order when he was nowhere near her. His mum had just died. He was overseas. He was no threat to her at all, and she went and got a restraining order. Like, it's all very manipulative and sneaky, and all of that evidence that came out around the time of his mum's death, anyone who's lost a parent, and she has as well, but anyone that has lost a parent, hearing what she was doing while he's just lost his mum, to me, just sickens me. And I think that's really the mark of the real Amber Heard. That's the person we're looking at. Like, she's pretty rotten. Doesn't necessarily mean she won't win the defamation suit. That's another argument entirely. And then we had Dr. Hughes. I'll just quickly mention her. The people that are rooting for Amber, and I don't know if there are many of them, but Team Amber would have absolutely loved Dr. Hughes. But to me, she was a Karen, and she was very biased, and I couldn't stand the way in evidence she repeatedly referred to victims as female, like she'd use she and her. Yes, she did say she's worked with women more, and yes, a long time into her testimony, she did concede that men can be victims as well. But in all of her evidence, she repeatedly referred to victims as female and perpetrators as male. And you've got a male top-heavy jury, so they're all probably sitting there going, so all abusers are male and all victims are female. And like I said, although she did concede later on in her evidence that you can have male victims, I think the damage was done already. Even, again, going back to the speed at which Johnny spoke when he was on the stand and how people found that really frustrating, you usually see an expert or any witness giving any kind of expert scientific testimony being very careful about not using he and she, even in different trials, like whether it's criminal or whatever. These days, you don't split the genders. And the thing is, domestic violence is a gendered issue. It is correct that statistically more women and children are going to be victims of DV than men. But when you're talking about it, you have to include the fact that there are male victims, and the whole courtroom and the planet or every person watching this has seen all this evidence coming out about how Johnny is clearly a victim. So I think that was quite detrimental in her evidence. I think she actually did more harm than good. And Dr. Curry was in the courtroom because expert witnesses are allowed to sit in court if a witness from the same profession is giving evidence. But I think she got a bit stroppy, not Dr. Curry, but Dr. Hughes, about not being addressed as doctor. I haven't heard that yet, so I can't vouch for it, but I did hear someone talking about that. And the other thing I think where Dr. Hughes, two other things, and then I'm going to go to chat. Other areas where I think Dr. Hughes was bad news, and I've just forgotten one of them, and it was like a real... Oh, AJ touched on it before too. Dr. Hughes has given all these examples of things that Amber alleged happened to her. I want to know if her team are going to be producing recordings of all of these episodes. Since Amber recorded everything, are we going to actually hear... And this is what the live is the title of the live is about. Are there recordings of all of this? Be very interesting to see, because I don't have access to the exhibit list and what's been tendered, but... you bloody well would hope, with her making all those allegations and talking about it in great detail, that there's going to be some further evidence to back it up other than Amber Heard just saying it happened. If this girl is recording all these horrible things that Johnny was allegedly doing, we're all expecting, aren't we, to hear recordings of all of these episodes and events. I mean, it's not going to be pleasant if there are recordings, but... that's one thing. And the other thing that I really disliked about her evidence was, while she was giving her expert opinion on stuff, there was an occasion where she slipped up and actually referred to Johnny and Amber by name. It was an objection, and it was overruled. It was sustained. But that was really poor form of her, I thought, while she's in the midst of just talking about different intimate partner violent relationships that she threw their names in. That was pretty uncool, in my view. So, hey, Him Animal. Hi, anyone else who's come rolling in? Yeah, very biased. Let's see how everyone is in chat. I don't even know if any of you are chatting about the trial. All right, AJ, I agree. The nurse didn't do Amber any favours. No, the nurse's testimony was pretty bad, and she didn't see any bruises. Oh, bruises. Here's a thought. These constant people talking about bruises on Amber's face and on her cheeks. She has her cheeks done. She has her cheeks filled. Like, I don't have any, obviously, I mean, it's pretty obvious looking at my face. I have not had any cosmetic surgery done at all. But I know someone who had a facelift and they looked like they had been beaten to a pulp after the surgery. They had black eyes and bruises everywhere. And the full facelift took a while for all of that to disappear. Like, she actually lived at home and stayed out of the public eye for a while because of the amount of bruising. Is it possible that when you're getting fillers in your cheeks, you end up with bruises that people saw one day and then the next day they didn't? And interesting too, like the cops who are trained to look for signs of violence when they're called out to a DV situation, not seeing any injuries at all. And Amber's lawyers are pretty much saying, and Dr. Hughes are pretty much saying, oh no, that cop was a bullshitter. Or was it the nurse? Someone did. You reckon? Yeah, the cops are all going to lie. They were doing their job. They were called out to a DV. So, like, hello, they're going to be looking for that stuff. It's getting really interesting to see what they're kind of trying to disprove or, well, this is bullshit because this happened. I mean, they're kind of choosing the wrong things to point. But I just wonder, if you get cheek fillers, do you end up with two little... Like that photo of her. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the Sun, but the photo that was published with the article in the Sun had, you know, her face with a little bruise on her cheek. But could that be caused by getting fillers? Just something I thought about too. Oh, Cement Shoes. Good night, Griever. Oh, Blue's here. Hi, Blue. Laying the foundation. All right, so I'm reading chat now. It is a defamation case, yes. If the letter was about Johnny and it's false, then he wins. If it's correct, then it's just true. Exactly. The title wasn't, but the paragraph was. But if you just read the headline and saw her photo, you instant... Oh, that's the one in the Sun, I think. The op-ed didn't have a photo. Not the version of it that I've read. A double negative. Oh, no, okay, so you're talking about all this evidence that shows that, you know, if it's proving Johnny was an abuser, then it just further adds weight to the fact that that op-ed was about her. Yeah, I keep thinking about that all the time. Like, as if I was Johnny's lawyer, that would pretty much be my closing argument. I mean, it wouldn't. But I've done closing arguments that go for like 30 seconds. I've just gone, bang, and ended. And I've had people in court going, are you really finished? I was like, yep. Because I knew the elements of the crime, and if one of them wasn't met, I just put that in my little closing sentence and sit right down. And I got a lot of acquittals. Because juries don't like lawyers who crap on for days. Hey, Blue. I'm assuming you're thinking about that point. Yeah, I asked Meg to change it to Megapine Healy, and she did. I think Turdinator's painted herself into a corner, yes. Oh, yeah, you mentioned it. No, they didn't. They didn't object when he pointed to her saying she was the abuser, because he was doing a submission against their request to strike. Just basically, well, not, what's the bloody terminology in Americano? The motion to strike. But no, his theatrics were not objected to. I don't think he is abusive in the way that's said, but it doesn't mean he can't be toxic. He's a long-term addict. Amber's team are yucky. Right, so, yeah, look, that's another thing which I need to do a bit more listening to, but this concept of mutual abuse that keeps coming up is really new to me. Like, back when I did criminal law, that was never a term that was ever used. There was essentially abuse, and then there was the way a person behaved and reacted to that abuse. It wasn't even called reactive abuse in common speak. It might have been in professional medical circles, but the mutual abusing was never a thing, because the abuser, it diminishes the abuse, I guess. There is only so far a person can go when they're being physically, emotionally, verbally abused before they're going to respond. And even if their response is abusive, you know, if it has name calling, for example, it diminishes the responsibility of the actual abuser that's done a mountain of things that led to that person saying that thing in response. So, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I personally, each time they mention mutual abuse, I just feel, to me, it's diluting and minimizing the efforts of the actual abuser. And it's just interesting that there was a clear distinction when I was a criminal lawyer between the abuser and the victim. And nobody ever pointed out that the victim responding in a toxic way, for example, made them an abuser. They were just being a human being and reacting. And the thing is, if you actually look at and listen to the recordings and how he speaks back to her, he is abusive as well. Like, he says abusive things. He calls her a cunt, for example. And there goes, this live will probably get taken down now. But she's actually saying personal attacks, like, you're a deadbeat dad, your kids hate you, you're a washed up actor, you're old and fat. Him calling her that after putting up with having things thrown at his head and losing his finger and everything else, it's how you can say they're the same level of abuse. And I'm not saying you are humanimal, I'm just talking it through. But yeah, I think the term mutual abuse is quite damaging. And that's not to say there isn't a relationship on the planet somewhere where both partners are abusive and there's equal or mutual abuse going on. But for me, for it to be mutual abuse, there has to be evidence that Johnny threw shit at her as well. Like, it's got to be the same kind of abuse. That's the nuance that I would argue if I was on Johnny's team. Pisshead Greg, I love your name. Good to see you, Griever. What I might have to do, because I'm going to go down to the bottom of the chat, because some of you are responding to things and I don't know what it was that I was talking about, because I went so way further up. So I might just try to be contemporaneous with chat now. I'm not ignoring any great comments you made, but like, it's really hard for me to work out what your comments were relating to, because I went through my list. And trust me, that was my summary. I've got notes and notes and notes and notes. And Johnny, look, back on that other comment of yours, Humanimal. Johnny has been very upfront about his addictions and so on, but all I heard was a man who detoxed whilst married to Amber to get off that addiction. I heard a lot of people who know him very well saying when he's drunk or when he's under the influence of marijuana, he's just really chill. Yes, he did respond in a negative way to her. in those arguments that we listened to. But my God, he got pushed and pushed and pushed. And it's reminding me so much of my two narcissist exes. There was a point where I used to go off and take myself away too, because the impact of their words and what they were doing that had on me. I used to barricade myself into a spare bedroom when I was with one of them, and he'd try to force the door open and just keep yelling at me through the door. And there were times that I definitely wanted to retaliate and punch him in the face or slap him or call him something unsavoury. But if anyone had ever put us in court and said this is a relationship of mutual abuse, I would have been absolutely distraught, because I put up with a lot before I said anything. AH has demonstrated narcissism, abuse, violence, character assassination, and straight-out lies to all and sundry, publicly humiliating JD, who she supposedly loved. The recordings prove that. I agree with you. But I'm also watching this really objectively. Like, as much as Amber's lawyers are unlikable, they're a good team. They're actually good lawyers. I know that you'll all be like, don't say that, they're not, they're shit. Trust me, like, objecting to your own question is shit. But, well, at least Rottenborn is actually very good in cross-examination, but because he's annoyed everyone so much, I honestly don't think anyone's noticing. I really don't. I keep thinking, how's the jury handling this? And I think that they were very aggressive and rude right from the start, and they didn't endear themselves to the audience, the jury. If you start out likable and get them on side, when you do have to turn a bit aggressive because you're cross-examining, like, jurors expect that. Jurors have seen Law and Order, they've seen courtroom dramas, they know how full-on cross-examination can get. So that wouldn't come as a shock to them. But when you come out with all guns blazing right at the start, it's very easy to turn the jury off. So yeah, whether they're even picking up on his questioning and the significance of those questions and the answers, I don't know. My feeling is the jury's probably missing a lot of it. But they wouldn't have missed the doctor, Dr. Hughes. They wouldn't have missed her repeatedly referring to perps as male and victims as female. That would not have been lost on the jury at all. And there's 7 dudes on the jury. It's like Suzanne Morphew and the spy pen. There are people saying DV is fact, but Suzanne never recorded any DV. Dime files were deleted. She wouldn't do that if in her favour. I lost interest in the Morphe case when there were channels going live saying they're digging up the driveway, she's under the driveway, and that case kind of happened at a time when I was moving away from joke crime YouTube channels and moving into the good ones where you've probably been from day one, Humanimal. That trial sort of coincided with I really can't deal with these people anymore. The train wreck viewing of true crime channels, I was over it by then. Anal much. I don't know what you're talking about, but if you want anal, go for it, Lola. I'm not going to hold you back. Her lawyer often seems to be talking about Amber, but it fits for Johnny and vice versa. But the thing is, none of that's on trial. None of that's on trial. And that's what I was saying earlier. Even if they were found to both be abusive, it's got nothing to do with proving the elements of defamation, except that Amber's team are desperately trying to prove that op-ed was not about Johnny Depp, but in the same process, they're putting out all this information that implies that Johnny Depp is abusive, which is just proving that Amber's op-ed was about Johnny Depp. And like one of Johnny's witnesses said, does she have another ex-husband who abused her? Like, when he was being questioned about the inferences, like, why would people infer that it was Johnny mentioned in that article? And the guy's like, well, is there some other abused ex-husband we don't know about? So, yeah, I mean, it's really semantics to me whether they're both abusive or not. I personally, so far from what I've heard, I just hear a man who is at his wit's end and has been patient, and there's not one person on the planet who has come out and said he was abusive. Not one. And trust me, if there was someone that had evidence like that, it's a pretty high profile case. We'd know about it. We would have known about it back when the Sun. But if we want to talk about Amber and her criminal past for abuse, there's evidence of that. So, you know. But that's not what's on trial. What's on trial is defamation. And I honestly think that Johnny Depp's team has already got all the evidence they need to say we've ticked all the boxes. I think the only thing that would really be left in the air is what kind of compensation. Amber's broke and Elon Musk isn't going to bail her out. And I don't think Johnny gives a shit. I don't think this is about money at all for him. He got to tell his story. I personally, as a lawyer, I know that I'm coming in from that perspective, but I'm looking at the elements of defamation, and I think they've been proven already. So Amber's testimony might prove that Johnny was equally abusive, but again, that's just further proving that the op-ed was about Johnny. To me, that's how I'm looking at it. Amber is his trigger. Skidmarticus. Oh, it's cement shoes. That's brilliant. Turdinator, human skid mark, Spartacus and Skidmarticus. I love it. Can we use that on this channel? Can we refer to her as Skidmarticus? If Johnny wanted a sweet woman to adore him, he didn't bank on BPD. He did. He did. Oh, no. I wasn't saying, you were saying mutual abuse. I know that you mentioned the toxic. Yeah, I mean, definitely toxic. But I did start talking about this trial, referring to it as a toxic relationship, and I've changed the wording to abusive because that is, I think when you're talking a toxic relationship can have a bit of sparring and fighting going on and a bit of verbal abuse, but it doesn't necessarily turn into an abusive relationship. It can just be two people bringing the worst out in each other. But with this, I started calling about toxic, and I'm very big on not using words that diminish things. It was an abusive relationship. Now, whether it went both ways, I don't know. But so far, I haven't seen evidence to suggest that. It looks like she was always the one instigating fights. That's been given in evidence by other people who witnessed her doing it. And he, to me, just sounds like somebody... I mean, even when he was smashing the stuff in the kitchen, he's just lost, what was it? I can't remember the figure. $650 million deal and has $100 million in back taxes to pay. Any spouse, any partner that has a day like that, and let's face it, no one in our lives is probably ever going to. I mean, I don't know all of your backgrounds, but you might all have $650 million deals that are about to fall apart. But why would you videotape deliberately your husband on a day where he's just got this hideous news and she knew about it and she's come down all, what happened to you today? And he's allowed to, if that's how he gets his frustration out, that kitchen's really hideous. That house on the outside looked awesome, but that does not look like an Aussie kitchen at all. It disturbs me. It looks like something from Twin Peaks. But why would you do that? And all these stories that have come out today from Dr. Hughes that Amber's told, all the things Johnny's done to her, if there aren't recordings of all of that shit as well, why not? Has everyone got their muffin? Do you need a muffin break shortly? We're an hour and a bit in. Gaius Skidmarticus. 100% likes. I know, we've got to get me on the algorithm, but before I get on the algorithm, I've got to get like 500 people watching to get like 500 likes. JD's character drug and alcohol abuse is not on trial. Correct. I hope the jury remember that. They will. They will, because the judge will direct them on the points of law at the end. They will be reminded of all of that. But I would be very surprised if there isn't at least one juror going, if you think the best argument you've got, Amber's lawyers, to prove the op-ed wasn't about Johnny, then maybe stop proving that the relationship was abusive, and then we might infer it's about somebody else. But so far, it's just making it really obvious that it was about him. I really think that well, I can't be the only one who thinks that way. You would have to have the patience of a saint with Amber. Oh, 13 watching, 13 likes, all talking about the 13. You're such into your numbers. Have you got something cool planned for your daughter's birthday? May the 4th be with you. Oh shit, I'm so behind in chat again. I have a problem with how descriptive he was about how he wanted to kill her, drown her first, set her on fire, then root her to make sure she's dead. Okay, Megapint. He was quoting Monty Python. He and Paul Bettany were quoting Monty Python. And why this is still like... This was before he even married her. So for starters, do you think someone who's falling in love with a woman who he ends up marrying, do you think comments like that are serious at the start of their relationship? But secondly, he's quoting Monty Python. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where they're burning the witch. That is a conversation between all the peasants pushing the witch to the stake to burn her. Now, I'm going to read it to make sure he's dead, make sure she's dead, was an addition, but he's got a very dry, sardonic, obscure at times, sarcastic sense of humour. We've seen it coming out in court. They're text messages between buddies, and he's always joking. Like, the fact that he's sitting in a trial about how he's a victim of domestic violence and he can still laugh at himself speaks volumes. That's his personality. So, yeah, I know what you're saying, but if you know the backstory to that, he's quoting Monty Python. He didn't want to kill Trump either. That was also a joke. Like... Oh, yeah, hopefully that's cleared that up for you, Megapint. I mean, my note-taking is, I'm a lawyer, Lawless Corner. That's what we do. We take notes. Dark humour, exactly. I mean, my friends and I quote Monty Python all the time. We quote other things that are way worse than Monty Python all the time. If someone got my phone and went through my text messages, they would be mortified if they didn't read it in the way it was intended. Hey, BR the Star. Yeah, she does, BR the Star. Coming in with firing with the punches. I love it. She has got a record. Oh, AJ's ahead of me. Sexual violence. Hey, Emily. In the op-ed title is defamation. You pursue that criminally with a police report. Yeah, well, this is it. That's another thing. Dr. Hughes's definition of sexual violence I disagreed with. Did I take notes? Let me check. Her definition was ridiculously broad. She said... She said that that's not the sexual violence definition, but one thing that was very interesting, she said that Johnny Depp's verbal comments to Amber were severe abuse, but when she was questioned about Amber's verbal attack, she said it wasn't. She was so biased. But the sexual violence stuff extended to leaving a message on a mirror. You know, some snarky message on a mirror could be sexual violence. No. I think she put way too many things into that definition. She said that being stalked could lead to sexual violence. But being stalked, Amber got a restraining order and then wanted to meet up with Johnny. Like, that's almost sort of reverse stalking. She's got a piece of paper that says you can't come anywhere near me. And then she's like, can we catch up? So weird. No evidence from the ex-wife about Amber's priors, but it's quite possible that can't be introduced into evidence. They have all those pre-trial hearings where they go through all of the evidence, and a lot of it can get excluded. Like in Australia, prior convictions aren't brought up. So, I mean, you can bring them up, but you've got to argue in court and succeed in court that they are significantly similar enough that it's valid. But it's very hard to get up on that argument because they want an unbiased jury. You've got to remember we're seeing so much more than the jury is aware of. Like, we all know about that makeup palette that wasn't around when they claimed it was. The jury is still oblivious to that. They don't know that. So there's a lot that we're seeing that, yeah, the jury is not aware of at all. Do you think it should be more than 50 million? I reckon it would be... I reckon based on that forensic accountant saying he averaged... Well, that chart saying he averaged around 40 million a year would be realistic. But the jury might be so anti-Amber by the end of it, they might go $1 trillion, and then the judge will be like, no, I'm stepping in, and then the judge can come up with a realistic penalty. But it doesn't matter what the penalty is. Amber hasn't got any money. How's she going to pay him? She's going to be making small donations to ACLU for the rest of her life to make up for that bold-faced lie that she was donating all the divorce proceedings. She's lied about so many things. That's why I think as a juror, when she's on the stand, what are the odds of her telling the truth? Because there's so much evidence out there about all the lies she's told. That's why I love this trial. It's just great. From a legal perspective, all these things that you don't want witnesses to do, they keep doing. It's great. Yeah, to clear his name for his kids, exactly. And I think he's already done that. Like, honestly, if the trial ended right now, I think Johnny's a winner. So, you know, obviously if he can get up on defamation, even better, because that's like a stamp of approval from the court that he is not guilty, or that she's guilty of defaming him. But I think he's already won. Being toxic and displaying reactive abuse. Yeah, I agree, Emily. Please appropriate Skidmarticus. Hey, Leardy, how you doing, Groover? Yes, I mentioned that earlier, BR the Star. Like, that's what the name of this live is about. Like, all these allegations of Amber's that are coming out now. Are we going to hear recordings of all of this stuff? Don't get me wrong, I don't want to hear recording of Johnny allegedly sticking a vodka bottle up her clacker, but or up her hoo-ha, but that's another thing. Sorry, I'm turning my cam off because I'm being naughty. That's another thing. I'm going to go back down to the... God almighty, I can't keep up with chat. How do people with 300,000 in chat keep up with comments? My God, I'm hopeless. I talk so much. You just saw the picture of Amber and thought it was Jeffrey Dahmer. If you guys have asked questions and made comments up, please, can you be kind and copy-paste them again for me? Because I'm now at the bottom of chat. But now I've forgotten what I was going to talk about. Oh, shit. Yeah, oh, yeah, okay, the bottle in the hoo-ha, right? One thing that came out in a lot of trials that I did as a defense lawyer, where nearly every time the accused was male, it was not uncommon for an ex-partner who's now alleging rape, for example, to start bringing all these bits and pieces out in evidence about all the shit that was done to them during the course of the alleged abuse, only to find out that they had a slightly kinky sex life, and at the time it was consensual and they were all up for it, and they had photos and stuff that they'd put up on online forums and everything else proving that. But then when the marriage went south, they suddenly started screaming abuse and putting all this evidence out. And I don't know whether Johnny stuck a bottle up her hoo-ha or not, but I've had plenty of lovers who have thrown me onto a bed and been a bit rough because I like that. So I've turned the camera off. My last long-term relationship didn't want to be like that with me, because it kind of went against his what sort of work he did and how he'd been trained and how he thought. And I had to sort of reassure him over and over and over and over and over again. Any film of the bottle incident, asking for a friend. But yeah, he was really reluctant to do it because of his line of work and how he'd been trained and the way he thought. And he was also just a really lovely, sweet guy. So he was a bit surprised, and I was like, come on, I like it a bit rough. But the things that I would have liked him to have done, and I'm not going into details of whether we did or not, but years later, relationship ends badly, it ends up in court. If I describe some of the things that I'd actually asked him to do, people in the jury would be like, oh my God, he's nasty. But I wanted it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, those things that Dr. Hughes was talking about, I was like, yeah, that was all probably consensual fun and a bit kinky. And I mean, sorry, but if Johnny Depp was my husband, he could be as kinky with me as he liked. I want to learn stuff in bed. I don't want to have this bloody candles and soothing music, slow-mo going on. Like, let's get our freak on, So, yeah. I'm not going to wait for chat to catch up with me, because I'm starting to worry I'm giving away too much about me, and you're all going, mm-mm. Yeah, exactly. They're both high as a kite. They would go kink. That's why you often get high. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Stoned sex is the best sex. For me. All embarrassment goes out the window. It's like, get your freak on. Yeah, BR the Star, thank you for mentioning that, because I've heard that a few times now as well, and I'm like, where's the evidence? Like, if she was dragged across broken glass, that would have required a trip to the hospital. Thank you for reminding me of that. One stood out to me too, and it wasn't in my list of notes. See, Lawler? See what happens if I don't have notes? Emily's having a good old chuckle. Come on, let's hang out with our inner kinkies. We've all got one. You'd be bathing in weed, snorting it and drying it if you were with her. You'd need things. I mean, I loved it. One of the comments that he made that was very subtle was, yes, I poured myself a drink because I thought it was necessary. And I thought, you poor bastard. When he was smashing up the kitchen and he had the mega pint, I thought it was necessary. He had to self-medicate whilst in a fracas with her because he knew it was coming. Consent is everything. People are too judgmental about other people's sex lives, for sure. I agree, him animal. Did she float? She's a witch. Are you a bit behind us, Be Other Star? I mean, you're kind of keeping up in some comments, and others you're back on the Monty Python stuff. I was waiting for that to come out, and you did it. AJ did it. The only difference between kinky and perverted: kinky is using a feather, perverted is using the whole chicken. Just saying. Hashtag you do you. I will, Joey. Look at Joey. Your train of thought cracks me up. You're all over the shop like a lollipop. Yes. Okay, noted. You've booked your flight at 8 a.m, land in Hobart at 11 a.m. Can you meet me at the airport? Huh? You coming back to Tassie after slagging us off all these years on YouTube? I have watched that clip many times. And exactly, you watch that and you're like, if you had Johnny doing that to you, you'd be one happy girl. I wouldn't see anyone complaining. People do hide pain with humour. But there wasn't pain at the start. That was when he was in love with her. They weren't even married yet when he was doing the Monty Python stuff. He's just mucking around with Paul Bettany, who, as it turns out, ended up having an abominable relationship with Amber, and Amber made his 18-year-old son cry and all the rest of it. But exactly, Scout. As long as it's consensual between two adults, let the fun games begin. I think she was very open and he fell for her, as in, yes, struck. But when she felt slighted, like she wasn't number one every moment, then her abandonment mode kicked in. Yeah, I was in a live with Real Chill Graz the other day, and Jules of Thought was in there as well, and I actually commended Jules on some of her commentary because she picked up on the panic in Amber's voice on the recordings. And it's panic and fear of being abandoned. So I said to Jules, I liked your frequent use of the word panic because you can hear it in her voice. Whereas Johnny has this screaming banshee throwing shit at him, and he has to try to be firm with her because sometimes when people go into those sorts of rages, you do have to... Remember when we were at school and a kid would sort of go into like shock and you'd have to slap them on the face to snap them out of it? Him being firm on those tapes is not abusive to me. It's him trying to get her to snap out of this rage she's gone into. Exactly. Sex on drugs with someone you love is incredible. I don't know what was in that way. Well, it's incredible with a person you don't love yet too. Just saying. You will throw me on the bed. Yeah, that's what all men say, But my point was that I've done things in my relationships that if a relationship had turned sour, and none of them have because I'm, reasonable, even the shitty ones, I just decided I wouldn't ever see those people again. But I'm friends with most of my exes, and yeah, there's things that have happened in our relationship that if it was presented in court, a lot of people, especially the Karens, would be raising many an eyebrow at me. But then there'd be other people in the room going, fuck yeah. And there'd be other people going, you think that sounds bad? Wait till you hear what I've done. Like, we've all got our boundaries. But I've had exes put things into my fanola that were inanimate. I own some of those inanimate things. Nothing wrong with that. Amber reminds me of a small toddler. Look at me, pay attention to me and only me. It is all about her. She's very entitled. She gives millennials a bad name. Yes, for her it does feel like the world is ending, and that's why I think that panic in her voice is so extreme. I mean, she couldn't bear to let him just go and have some time out from her and her ranting without losing her shit and following him around the house and banging on all the doors, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And I wouldn't be surprised if Oscar Pistorius is the same sort of personality type. I reckon he put Reva Steenkamp through the same stuff. Just saying. No, she doesn't. And how funny is it when she's telling Johnny that he's a baby and, you didn't get hurt when I was hitting you. That's the difference between you and me. You're so childish. I'm like, oh my God, are you listening to yourself? And you express your anger by throwing shit at your incredibly gorgeous husband? What the fuck? I am pretty, look at me. And look, I'm interested too. The first mention of Amber being abused as a kid that I've heard was today. I mean, I hadn't heard anything negative about her upbringing until today, which, I mean, I guess it's now her side to tell her story, but you're sitting on your bad dad joke hands. Time for a cuppa. I've still got my mega pint of cuppa. I've got my smoothie jar because it's the most mega pint thing I could find at short notice. And I've got my muffin. Dr. Curry's husband bought me a blueberry muffin. When a guy thinks you're abandoning him and it triggers his sick wounding, he might punish you with a drag on all-female drama channel. Hang on, Jules of Thought could apply that care and concern for all. I don't know her that well, but when a guy thinks you're abandoning him and it triggers his sick wounding, he might punish you with a drag on an all-female... Is that an all-female drama channel? Are you spilling some goss on Jules of Thought's channel? I don't know her. I mean, I've engaged with her. She came into one of my lives once, and I've got an apron it's called the fuck apron, and it's got like fuck, I'm trying to read it. It's hanging up over there. Fuck scammers, fuck Netflix and chill, all over it. And I used to just randomly point on something and we'd do a live and that would be the theme. And one of them was fuck hoodies. So I Googled hoodies to get some sort of things connected to wearing hoodies so I could do this live. And I always tried to find a crime. And I found a crime. What's that guy's name? Was it Trayvon? Somebody in the US, a black kid that was shot by the cops? Trayvon? Oh, what was his name? But he was wearing a hoodie, and when there was sort of a Justice for Him campaign, they all wore hoodies. And I just mentioned that, like it was literally a casual chat. Jules of Thought obviously knows the trial inside and out, and she sort of gave me all this additional info and, you know, talked about how he was guilty and all the rest of it. And I'm like, well, I wasn't really going that deep into it. I was just saying I found a crime that had involved a hoodie. And this hoodie sort of symbolised justice for this guy. I got a bit berated, I must admit. She had no faith he'd come back. She was terrified and acted abominably because of that. It could be very, very real to her. It's awful, the violence. Yeah, and look, I mean, she's got mental health disorders. She's got mental disorders, not mental health disorders. She's got mental disorders, but I don't, and I hope they are not used to explain away what she was doing, because there are so many, and that's one of the things I was talking about on my live yesterday. It diminishes the experience of other people with those same conditions who live a peaceful life. So I'm really hoping that those disorders are not used to explain her behaviour, because there's more to it, and it's called choice. And she is immature, and the fact that she was a thrower of items and all the rest of it and hadn't, like, holy shit, if I threw a vodka bottle at my partner and sliced his finger off and he's a guitarist, and on his dominant hand, that would stop me ever throwing anything ever. I mean, I'm not a thrower, but that would stop me immediately. But it kept happening over and over, and then, you know, hitting him in the face. Like, what's one of his major money makers? His face, his look. So, yeah, there's a lot about this trial that annoys me. It diminishes the experience of true victims of abuse. If this is all a load of shit from her, because so far the only thing that anyone's called abuse was Dr. Hughes today saying that verbal comments amount to abuse as well. But when it's a reaction to someone who's repeatedly, verbally, emotionally, financially, physically abusing you, we're human beings. We get to speak up, you know. We do respond at some point. People can only be pushed so far. But yeah, I feel like it's diminishing the valid experiences of victims of domestic abuse. I also think she manipulated and, in fact, hijacked the Me Too movement. If it's found that he wasn't abusive, that disgusts me as well, that she jumped onto that and used that to her advantage and hijacked what that was supposed to be achieving. The op-ed where she talks about how she spoke up and was ignored like so many women, that would have stuck in 1950, but women are speaking up and have been speaking up and have been heard, and I found that a really insipid part of that op-ed. And I also found the On the Face of Domestic Violence very insipid as well, because it's not like, the way it reads is like she's the first woman to have spoken up and put it out in the public arena, and give me a break. And that's that horrible side of her personality, that it's all about her and she's so amazing and wonderful. take a seat, kiddo. There are plenty of women who've spoken up about being abused long before you came along. Don't declare yourself the public face of domestic violence in the world. It annoys me, but yeah, there's so many things about this that really irritate me, and a lot of it's to do with diminishing real life experiences, and that extends to her disorders. And if they are offered as an excuse to her behaviour, then every person on the planet who's living with borderline personality disorder, histrionic, I'm not that familiar with, but let's just go with the BPD people that have never been violent in their lives, how's that going to make them feel like their disorder is being used to justify her shitty behaviour? That's what scares me about this, and her team, and how they're going to use that information. Yeah, it really pisses me off. I'm not sure that it's going to end in his favour, Megapint. I'm not. At the end of the day, it's defamation. I think that there's a lot of evidence supporting the elements of defamation for it to be proven to have been defamatory. What I was saying earlier is I think he's already won because he's been able to tell his story, and financially I don't think he's got anything to gain even if he succeeds on defamation, because Amber doesn't have any money. But no, I'm not that biased yet. Like, I'm definitely Team Johnny in terms of what I've watched in court so far and how I feel about him as a human being and his team around him, and the fact that he's got loyal staff and all sorts of things. He's the gang of people in that courtroom I want to hang out with. But no, I'm not calling it. But I think they've done a very good job, not just his team, but also hers, in moving towards a successful outcome. But I also know that these cases, it's very hard to win them. But again, I feel that the really critical point here is that they keep highlighting Johnny's alleged abuse, which just further shows that op-ed is about Johnny Depp, and that's a critical part of, it's one of the critical elements. If you're not named in something, then the obvious inference that a reader would draw from reading that is that it is about that person. And I think that's been proven over and over and over again. There are witnesses that have proven that he lost out on pirates and lost income because of it. That's another element. But yeah, I'm not that confident yet, Mega Pint Healy. I'm trying to remain as objective as I can. Yeah, the trial today was good. The bits, but I mean, I haven't seen. Hey, Blissful, how are you, gorgeous? I'll keep scrolling down. Amber's frustrating because so many abused or hurt or neglected daughters may attract toxic men or unavailable men, but we are devoted to not being like our parents. Being violent is not our nature. Exactly. And again, being abused as a child will scar you for life. But from that point on, you have choices as well. And Johnny and his sister both decided they would not be like their mum. And Johnny, in fact, is mimicking his dad. He would just stand there and take a beating. The kids would take beatings. His dad never retaliated. And eventually his dad used to remove himself from the situation, and the kids removed themselves from the situation. And eventually his dad was like, that's it, I'm done. And he left. All Johnny to a T. But Johnny offered his childhood experience to explain how he reacted and handled his marriage with Amber, not to excuse any shitty behaviour of his. And that's the difference. Trevor Martin, thank you, Emily. Yeah, it's captivating, isn't it, Leah D? It does explain her behaviour, but doesn't excuse her actions. Correct. No, you just trigger me to go off on a little rant, Kim Animal. I'm not directing it at you. It's just issues that this trial's making me think about. But I know what you're saying. Like, her conditions and that sort of over-exaggerated panic and fear is part of that for sure. No doubt about it. What I'm saying is I just hope her lawyers don't use them to try and defend her behaviour. It might explain the panic in her voice, but it doesn't explain her throwing shit at him. Yeah, the constant recording. I mean, even that, you know, that's another thing that's come out in this trial, is that Johnny wanted to record things so that Amber could hear herself the next day, because she would obviously lose her shit, rant and rave, carry on, and then the next morning they'd wake up and she'd deny that all of it happened. And anyone that's ever had a narcissist in their life, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a partner, knows that pattern of behaviour. It's disgusting, and I've unfortunately dealt with it as well. And so he said to her, can I record you so that tomorrow morning we can have a listen to what you said last night, because you said this shit. I'm not making it up. So he got her permission. She never got his permission. And again, it's just a mark of their character. There's so much evidence that shows, despite Johnny's addictions, the amount of pot he likes to smoke, all of the stuff, there is still inherently a kind, thoughtful man in the mix of a really bad marriage. And he's still considerate and thoughtful and kind and gentle and so forgiving and fair and just trying to get through to her. And those relationships, when you're in them, they are so exhausting that anyone after a while would be well and truly justified in being impatient and losing their shit really quickly. But his patience and that kind of fatherly... There's a fatherly attitude that he's got, that you know that, I mean, when he talks about how they raise their kids and everything, for her to call him a deadbeat dad when you're actually seeing him sort of using the same strategies he would have used with his kids, and just this patience and kindness and understanding and, you know, putting up with a lot. Not that his kids did that to him, but she did. But there's this sort of... He's just trying to be composed and rational, but she's just the whole fucking... It's exhausting. And there's evidence already that's been put out that she loved the drama and she would start fights for no reason. And there's footage of them on the red carpet where she's... And he's like, no, not now. Like, you can hear him say that to her. She couldn't even stop doing it when they were out in public. She was getting off on all the chaos she was creating. And I'm really amazed that narcissistic personality disorder wasn't in Dr. Curry's diagnosis as well. I mean, maybe it was, and maybe it's an element of both histrionic. But I mean, one of my exes who was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder was also diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. But there's a lot of stuff that came out in evidence that is just NPD to a T, and I am amazed that that wasn't considered or brought up in Dr. Curry's evidence. I believe we will get a very embellished version of whatever trauma and abuse Amber Heard has actually suffered in her life, though. That is what she's paying her lawyers for, the empathy vote. I'm really keen, and I hope, that Whitney is called. I think her sister, as much as I want to see Amber getting cross-examined, because Ben Chu is brilliant, and it's going to be captivating viewing, I really want to hear her sister Whitney give evidence. Because Whitney comes up a lot in Johnny's evidence, quite a few of the security guards, the two of them sort of making a little video and parodying the alleged punch. So yeah, Whitney. And I wish some of those other girlfriends of Amber's that are no longer friends of hers, like Rocky. Where's Rocky? Get Rocky in. Let's listen to Rocky. Like, she's fallen out with all of those girls that were all living in the different penthouses. I think Io's out of the picture now too. Amber is now going to be the face of BPD, which is tragic for those with BPD who are doing the work to heal, who are not that far down the volatile spectrum. Yeah, look, she could have used all of this for good, not evil, but at the end of the day, I think everything she's done has been tactical, strategic, perfectly timed. Who gets a restraining order against your husband when they're not even in the country? He was no threat to her at all. It was just a little bit of evidence to further her case in the divorce proceedings. Because while that restraining order was still, the TRO was still in effect, she wanted to meet up with him. She wanted to breach it. She wanted to breach the restraining order she got against him. There's warped thinking going on. There's this sense of entitlement all the time. And I don't know. If you're a Gen Xer, hook up with a Gen Xer. If you're a boomer, don't date a millennial. Like, just stick to your own generation because we all think a little bit differently. She was trying to, and that's what I mean by hijacking the Me Too movement, and that sickens me. Because if it is all a load of baloney, and a lot of it so far, Johnny's clearly a victim, and that doesn't mean I think he's going to win the defamation case, but I believe he's a victim, no doubt about it. When he said, yes, I am, in response to her saying, go tell the world you a man or a victim of domestic violence, and he said, yes, I am, that was the most powerful moment in the trial to date. But yeah, to sort of cash in on that movement was disgusting as well. I'd be pissed too, Scout. It was awful, blissful. I'm grateful to Amber for hating the Me Too, halting the Me Too. Too many now successful women use that to clear their own decisions in their own histories. Oh, it fell off the rails. It went off the rails big time. What it initially started out to be was brilliant, and then it just, like anything, the Amber Heards of the world jump onto it and it fucks it up for everyone. If she was afraid of him, she would not bring lovers into the penthouses. Yeah, and he's just lost his mother. In my opinion, it's going to be a massive reality check for women of that AH's Machiavelli archetype moving forward, and that domestic violence or abuse isn't one-way gender traffic. Yeah, and that was I think you're in it, the ramifications of this trial. I'm very optimistic this is going to make a huge difference, and that more men are going to speak up, more men are going to report, more men are going to identify that what's happening to them is a form of abuse. I also think there's a lot of women who are currently being emotionally abused that wouldn't realise it until now, and they're listening to the trial going, that's the stuff I'm being put through right now. I think there's huge ramifications, and I think I only said it on a live or two ago, that if just one man identifies that he is currently a victim of abuse and he gets help for that then all of this is worth it. It is a gendered issue, but statistically I think the gap will be narrowed if more men did speak up, but it will always be gendered. That's one thing that when men weigh in on the men are victims too. No one's ever said that they're not, but the reality is women will always, and children will always be more at risk in domestic violence situations than men. That's just a fact, but it doesn't diminish the men that are, or their stories at all, or their experiences. But men are also more likely to be murdered by another man. When it comes to violence, the man-on-man stuff, the bar fights, the stabbings, shootings, all that kind of stuff, then women, like, they are gendered issues. But they're not exclusive gendered issues. So, but yeah, if it brings about more reporting and there's the gap closes in the number of reports, that would be awesome. Because it would show that men are actually going, you know what, I've put up with this shit for too long. And men are way less likely to speak up than women. So, and women, when Amber said, you know, the women, we speak up and we're not heard, I don't agree with that. I've worked in domestic violence since I've finished law school, and there's so many shelters for women. There's so many outreach programs to help women relocate, get reestablished, education packages to support the kids. It's out there, and it's very known that women are victims of violence, and for her to have domestic violence, for her to have sort of made out that she spoke up and no one listened, bullshit. If what she's alleging, if she'd gone straight to the cops and looked like she'd been beaten up, Johnny would be charged with something, but he wasn't. It makes me sick that she, as a woman, has totally manipulated and taken advantage of the situations where women are at their most vulnerable. And she's cashed in on that. And that's why I've described her as vile. I think she's vile. I think she's despicable. I can't imagine what it would even be like to be her friend, but nope. If you meet an AH out there, run far, run fast, and do not look back. That's what the doctor said to me about my ex, who was diagnosed with BPD and NPD to his ex-wife. She's like, how do I... Well, because he was diagnosed while they were still married, and she's like, what do I do? And the doctor's like, turn around, run away, don't look back. Sad, but true. Oh, the ACLU stuff, yeah. Yep, that whole... Wasn't that quite damning? The ACLU stuff is shifty as fuck. But isn't it interesting that the other charity that she was meant to donate to is a children's hospital with children, many children dying of cancer? The fact that her lawyer sounds like Diane from Diane's channel, and then there's a children's hospital with kids with cancer that didn't get the money. Some of you know what I'm on about, because we all kind of... Not that I started out in that community, but that community kind of filtered into the one I was in. But yeah, I can't help it. Every time I'm listening to stuff like that, I'm like, this is just St. Jude's and Diane's channel, but on a bigger scale. And it doesn't help that your lawyer sounds like Diane from Diane's channel either. Is anyone else having those moments? I'm going to race down to the bottom of chat again. I'm not ignoring your comments, but I want to keep up with where you groovers are. Yeah, who was it who said that, Humanimal? That's such an important quote. Men don't want to be humiliated, women don't want to be killed. And the inverse can happen, yes. Yes, indeed. I was talking about the American comedian who was on Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons, Phil Hartman, who was murdered by his wife. But... yeah, that quote. Who said it? I hope this helps men and women, particularly as they deal with divorce, courts and custody. I agree. I say get a dog or cat. Speaking of, where's your buddy Sunny? She might be up in her daybed out in the enclosure. It's kind of misty and raining today. I'm going to be sleeping this afternoon and... getting up and having dinner late before I go live. It's going to be weird. It's going to be so weird. Women are powerful if they exert emotional, financial and psychological abuse towards their partners and children. Very much so. Mommy dearest. A bloke I knew here who was pretty feared around here eventually got killed by a guy with a car. Couldn't do it man on man and used a car. That is terrible. A male BPD? Yep, run. I reckon you wrote it right. This trial is helping our younger generation, especially high school and college age, that it's okay to tell someone get away and press charges. Yep. And even just to walk away, like allow your partner to do that. They are trying to de-escalate the situation. Like if you can't recognise things are getting out of hand, trust that that person wanting to walk away is trying to de-escalate and agree to take some time out as well. A friend of mine said he would rather face a man with a gun than a woman with a knife. I'd rather face anyone with a gun than a knife, because just shoot me and get it over and done with. The thought of being stabbed, the number of criminal cases, mainly when I was a judge's associate in the Supreme Court, not when I was practicing. I didn't have many murders, but the number of... My judge primarily did criminal matters. We did some civil and some commercial, but mainly for the bulk of the year I worked for him, it was criminal trials. But we had a lot of murders by stabbing and... Nope. Just shoot me with a bullet in the head, done. Don't stab me repeatedly. No. Looking at photos and counting all of the cuts and the defense wounds from being stabbed as well. It's horrific. Gun over knife. What are you all like? Your friend was their nanny. She worked in the house the night the wife killed Phil. Shay struggled for years from the trauma of being wrapped up in that. Oh my God, Emily. Far out. That's full on. Is she okay now? I mean, obviously it's going to be part of her life from now on, unfortunately. Well, not from now on, but from then on. But counsellors who do therapy with clients struggle with BPD clients. They can be abused, get nowhere, it's painful. DBT is for those that admit they do need help, but often they can't change enough. And this is what's so sad, because these disorders, you know, for many of them, there's no cure. There's nothing they can do. Often the person doesn't recognise anything wrong with any of their thinking because it's their norm, right? They're not seeing it as being anything different to anyone else. And a lot of the time, they're very good at putting people into their circle who are they perceive vulnerable or going through something personal, so they're a bit emotionally fragile, and they're very charming and funny at the start, and they kind of get this circle who don't call out their behaviour because these people are all going through other stuff and they're still getting support and what they perceive to be love from this person. And it's all part of their manipulation, but that's also part of how they're wired. And so, yeah, it's a vicious circle, which is why my ex Andy's wife, or ex-wife, but wife at the time, Susan, when he was diagnosed, the doctor said, run away. Like, we can't fix someone with these disorders. Run away. And thankfully, at some point she did. But unfortunately for me, that meant he found me along the way. There should be a TV show. Well, there can't be a TV show about him because he didn't rip us all off with hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And he wasn't Dirty John level, but he was one of those people. And he was heading that way. He was still fairly young when all of this, luckily for me, I think, because I kind of met him when he was still young and good looking and charming, and his karma will catch up with him, and I'm nowhere near him anymore, thank God. But I'm also surprised no one's thrown him off a bridge yet. Phil Hartman's saying, yeah, that's full on, Emily. Yeah, I don't think anyone would get over that. Oh, I have a legal question, Tor. All right, remember, any legal comments I make on this show are for entertainment purposes only, allegedly. No, I will try, but don't take this as legal advice because I'm not licensed to practice outside of the area of law I practice in, and I can give an opinion, but I can't give advice. If a person is blocking you like a big bully, so you can't leave, is that considered a form of abuse? No. Well, in Australia, that would actually be false imprisonment, I think is the... what's the bit of that putting them in prison, though? I'm trying to think of the other word, but it's, like it's... I mean, it's only... I mean, it could be false imprisonment if you take it really loosely without talking about prison, like stopping someone actually being able to leave a room, for example. You are imprisoning them. But I don't believe it's considered a form of abuse. I believe it's just... It's a criminal offence in Australia to prevent someone from essentially imprisoning someone and they can't leave. But it's more like, I mean, blocking a doorway like that, eventually that person's going to move and they're going to be able to go. So you wouldn't press charges for false imprisonment for that. But if you were locked in that room by that person for months on end, you would, if that makes sense. But I don't think... Well, look, if you were Dr. Hughes, if I was Dr. Hughes, if I was Amber Heard's witness, I would say it was, because she gave a very broad definition to sexual violence. She included a lot of things in that definition that most people wouldn't. Like how a "good morning, you effing bitch" written in lipstick on a mirror equates to sexual violence is beyond my comprehension. But yeah. But I don't believe that in its own right. I mean, it would certainly be included in an abuse story if they did this to me, this to me, this to me, and then when I tried to leave, they blocked the door. Like, it could be included in evidence as a pattern of abuse and things that they were doing while they were abusing that person, but I don't think on its own it's considered abuse. Oh, she's taken off. Yay! I'm glad to hear that, Emily. She's taken off. See, people can go through the worst experiences and still make the most out of their life. And she probably went, life can end in a second like it did for Phil. I'm going to make the most of mine. And she just... Doesn't mean she's still not impacted by it and has her bad days and everything else. Anyone that goes through anything traumatic is allowed to do that. But I love it when people can just go, I just experienced something really shitty and fucked up. And I know it's going to be a bit of a messy issue for me for the rest of my life, and I might get triggered, I might need medication at times, but I also learned from it that life can end in a second, so let's go. I mean, I'm probably reading way too much into your friend, but the fact that she's taken off with her career in art, love it. I love a good survivor story. How were I affected by being with a guy like this? You seem confident and well. Affected deeply. I have had 2 exes with narcissistic personality disorder. I've also had a relationship with a physical abuser, and I've also had an emotionally abusive parent. I've had a lot of abusive peeps in my life, but a lot of it, like the parent part of it, as a kid, I just thought that was what parents were like, and that's sort of how they treated their kids. I didn't know it was anything weird. It was only as life went on that I started to identify all these things about one of my parents, who I still, for the most part, loved, didn't always like. It was only when I got older and started sort of having my own relationships and seeing other relationships and stuff that I started to go, oh my God. And, and then talking to my siblings about it. But I don't think anyone can get through life without engaging with humans in any capacity without experiencing some form of abuse. And I guess from that belief, I've just chosen to not let it define my life, because I kind of feel like I'm giving the abuser all the power if I do that. So I'm aware that it happened. It's made me more compassionate about other people that go through stuff like that when I'm chatting with them. And it's probably motivated me to work in domestic violence a little bit. I volunteered to go to Fiji for a year as a lawyer advising on DV over there. They've got a very horrific rate of domestic violence. And unfortunately, there was a political coup right before I was meant to go, so I didn't end up going. But only because I probably would have been murdered if I was walking the streets at night. So, I've channeled my experiences into the work that I do. In fact, the job that I have now as a lawyer, I have a personal experience in that area of law that drove me to work in it, because I feel real life experiences can be very powerful when you're advising clients and helping them. And as lawyers, we see people at their most broken when they're facing all kinds of things and they're terrified. Like, just the fact that they've got a lawyer is scary, let alone what they're going through. And the number of times I've had clients say, you wouldn't understand. And for me to actually be able to look at them and go, I do understand, I went through the same thing, is really empowering. And it does shift my relationship with my clients, because they know I'm not just placating them and, or I'm not minimizing their experience. It actually makes our relationship very strong. And you want that with a client, because you want to be able to represent them and you want to know everything, and you want them to feel like they can talk without being judged. And so, yeah, but it doesn't mean that those shitty relationships with the two narcs and the physical abuser didn't impact me. I mean, obviously I didn't learn how to identify a narcissist because I ended up with another one, but they're very good at fooling you at the start. But I haven't turned into an all men are bastards girl either. Like, I'd rather keep a dude as a pet than a partner. I'd rather Sonny be hot. My cat would be more high maintenance than my lover, if you know what I mean. Not to say I won't try a relationship again one day, but I'm really happy just having a dude in my life as a pet. Anyway, I'm way behind in chat again. Oh, you think blocking the door is abuse? I think it's a pattern in us. I think it's the blocking the door thing in a series of events that were abusive, but as an isolated action and it was pitched as a legal question, it wouldn't be, in Australia, that wouldn't be deemed to be abuse. It would be more in the false imprisonment. But again, with false imprisonment, it's got to be a bit more long-term than just blocking a doorway for 10 minutes. But when you're talking about abuse going on and someone's trying to leave and they're blocking the way for that person, they're preventing the situation from de-escalating and so on. So, I mean, there's also a bit of, you kind of had the opportunity to let that person leave the room when they asked if they could leave because things were getting heated and you prevented that. Like, you've actually contributed to what happened from that point on. Just if people want space, let them go. I got criticised as a kid because I didn't want shouting. I had a very shouty household. I grew up with shouty parents and siblings, and I like peace and quiet. So I would be a Johnny. I would leave. I learned very early that one of my parents wanted to fight when they came home, and if you were awake and nobody else was, you'd be the target. So I was quite good at removing myself a lot. No physical abuse in my childhood, but a lot of verbal and emotional. And that carried with me. And the last narc I went out with, who had a very hot temper, I would just say to him, I want to chat to you about this later, but time out. Like, not sticking around for a screaming match. And I would be accused of being the weak person for walking off. But I had stuck around at the start when we first had a couple of arguments to know that it wasn't going to end well. So I wasn't storming off. I was politely asking if I could just have time out, and they could as well. And when we both calmed down, let's chat. And that drove him batty. And that's exactly what happened with Amber. All this abandonment shit and everything else starts to kick in. And you're like, for fuck's sake, I just don't want this. You're loud and yelling and screaming and not being rational, and you're going to deny all of this happened tomorrow. Like, I'm just going. I had no idea me wanting time out was going to make them get even more full on. And Johnny probably didn't with Amber either. And he probably tried different strategies and none of them work. Because he didn't have a clue what he was married to. Well, he did. He married his mum. Oh, hello. Here comes Sunny with some opinions. I don't know if you heard her just then. What? Are you telling me I've been live long enough? I probably have. Yeah? Have I been live for too long? She said yeah before. Stuff happens in all relationships. You cannot go through life. If you are involved with human beings in any way, shape or form in your life, you are going to experience disappointing people. You're going to experience abuse. As a kid, you'll be experiencing bullying. I mean, when we were bullied as kids, it was just like, well, that's just the school thug. Now, one person in a workplace says one thing and they're like, I'm being bullied. It's like, no, it's a repeated pattern of behaviour with malicious intent, but good luck with your bullying claim. They're actually, in Australia now, the term cyberbullying is only related to children, minors. They've taken adults out of the equation because the word has been used so much that it's actually lost its power and its relevance. So if you're fucking around on YouTube and you're abusing the crap out of other people, you're going to be looked at for harassment, not bullying. Cyberbullying, e-bullying is specifically relating to underage children in Australia now, and I think it's a really good step forward. YouTube, the number of words that are used so loosely and they're losing their meaning, and it really irritates me, which is why I wasn't a fan of Dr. Hughes, because she, like, for example, with that definition of sexual violence, her definition was so broad, and some of the things that she was including in it is actually taking away from the reality of actual sexual violence and how serious it is. And that pissed me off. Oh, Annie Scout. Hello, meow meow. She's having a little afternoon snack. Yeah, it's 2 hours till dinner. So when you came in demanding food just then, bit early. My pleasure, Scout. My answer was long and winding. Better Call Tour. That's amazing. I think recovery healing happens when you have a powerful channel for the pain and trauma. I did not realise what my options were, so I circled the drain. Yeah, it doesn't, yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it, how we all process things. And like the violent partner I had, I was really young, and I ended up in hospital, and the time that I was in hospital, he did some pretty shitty things that kind of made it very easy for me to just cut the cord. And when I finally got to speak to him, it was like it's over, and it broke him, and he moved back to the state he'd come from. And I found this incredible inner strength. And then, I stood my ground, whereas I had put up with it and let him, I'd forgiven him and accepted his apologies and I love yous and it won't happen again and all that shit. And luckily, it probably had only happened to me twice before and I'd forgiven him. And the third time I was like, this is bad and it's getting worse. So I'm already in hospital with this shit. And I didn't have any experience with domestic violence victims or anything at that point. I was still at uni. I was only doing my first year of law. Oh no, hang on. No, I was probably third year, third year and fourth year law with him, actually. But just something within me just went, no, which amazed me because I put up with shit from other partners for years and just kept questioning what the fuck and not realising I was being gaslit and everything else. So, yeah, something in me as a youngster, I found that inner strength. But I knew that it wasn't okay. And I hadn't come from a childhood of physical violence. So if I had have, I might have stuck around with him longer because I would have just thought, oh, well, that's just what couples do when they fight. But yeah, I just found a strength and just went, no, enough, done, no more. And even when I was trying to find a house to move out of, that we were sharing, and I ended up, there's a dude that I knew who was dating a girl from Tassie, and he somehow got wind of it that I might be moving into their apartment with them, and then I got accused of having an affair, and oh, this has been going on forever, and you deserved it, and all that shit was going on the whole time, and I was just like, I just have to get away from this guy because I've ended it, and it's just, there's shit still going on. It was awful. And he did try to get me back repeatedly. Eventually he did leave the state, but then, yeah, I've been with not one but two narcs, and I don't see him coming. And once you're far enough into a relationship and they've gaslit you and isolated you from your friends and you're constantly questioning how fucked up you are and how could you possibly be this way and you're the reason the relationship's shit. But I'm hoping that third time lucky I will recognise it before I go on a date with them or after the first date, Johnny's going to come out of this so much stronger and with dignity and serenity. He will definitely have so much brighter days in his near future, and it's so well deserved. I agree, Scout. That's what I mean. I think he's already won. And he has been dignified, and he has gone, yeah, I'm fucked up. Like, he hasn't made excuses for it. He's everything Amber's alleged is. I mean, like the thing about him, you throw up in your sleep every night. Like he said, I think you'd know that if you were, and also if that was happening, I'd get medical help immediately. Like, everything's exaggerated with her. And like he said, you know, and I get it, that when my parents would yell, I'd get this instant nausea and sick. Even if it wasn't me they were yelling at, I'd get this sick feeling in my stomach and nauseous, and I wanted to puke. And he said that. He said he'd get so anxious and feel so sick that he'd throw up sometimes when Amber was going off, you know, at him. But yeah, I think he's been very down to earth. The people around him adore him. None of his ex-partners have come out and said he was a thug. No one actually saw him ever lay a finger on her, but people saw her throw shit at him. I'm just so relieved for him that he got to tell his story, and I'm so relieved for men in the same situation that might now realise that they are in that kind of a relationship and that it's not okay and they can get help and get out, you know. Puzzles me about other YouTubers. I thought the quest here was views, not steering peeps. Joe, I don't know what you're talking about, but just generally with YouTube, we both know that if you want a crowd of people watching you got to get nasty and bitch about other YouTubers. The word troll. Yeah. Grown-ass adults stalking others via their laptops. And not only that, but what pisses me off with the way the word troll's been twisted is somebody will go into a chat with a differing opinion, and you go to their channel and they've actually got a channel with, you know, X amount of subscribers and stuff. But because they've got an opposing opinion, oh, there's a troll in chat. No, it's someone with a different opinion. Like, I'm with you, Emily. Hey, Tawny C. Amber would not let Johnny go. She wanted to fight and always berating him. I know. And what about the one where she actually says to him, I wasn't punching you, I was hitting you? Oh, my God. And the fact that she sat in court and didn't even realise how damning that was against her. Oblivious. But when she's saying to him, you know, you tell the world, Johnny, you tell them a man is a victim of domestic abuse and domestic violence. He's like, yes, I am. But again, like she, just say we had a normal fight. Before she goes into that bit about the domestic, you're a victim of domestic abuse, Johnny, she's actually saying, just, you know, can we just have a normal fight? Like she's trying to change the type of argument that they're having. She got off, I mean, and this is why I don't understand why narcissism or NPD isn't included, narcissistic personality disorder isn't included in Dr. Curry's analysis, because that is the marker, in my understanding from the doctor I spoke to after I was with narc number 2, one of the first markers is if they're constantly picking fights for no reason, they kind of thrive on it, it's possible they're a narc because their biggest thing is they get off on the drama they create. They don't want the happy little quiet life in the country that Johnny was sort of heading into that age, which he already had that lovely, quiet, out of the public eye kind of life anyway. Narcs don't want that. They want the drama. And I look back on both of those relationships now, and I look back on me. I'm not going to act like I'm the perfect person because I'm not, but I even look back at me as a youngster, like a teenager in early relationships, and I knew how to push my partner's buttons or my boyfriend's. I weren't even partners really. You know when you're young and you start dating and you're, oh, you know, do you like me? And why are you looking at her? And all that sort of bullshit. I did all of that. I didn't like the drama I created though, so I grew out of that pretty quickly. But there was a time where I liked a bit of what I deemed to be passion in the relationship. Like, I had friends who were fighting with their partners all the time, and I wasn't because I'm so bloody mellow. So I'd kind of stir up a fight to get some passion happening in the relationship. You know, people, oh, makeup sex is the best sex. And I'm like, I haven't even fucking had that yet. Oh, you've got to have a fight to have that. All right. And I even told my partner, I was like, I deliberately started that fight just so we could have a fight so I could have makeup sex and see if it was better than other sex. But yeah, I was a nightmare kid too, a teenager when you first start dating. But most of us learn from our mistakes and go, maybe we won't do that again. You know what I mean? Not the makeup sex stuff, but the other stuff like the prodding for a fight. Like, I didn't like the outcome. I didn't like that it brought back memories of being a kid and feeling sick when my parent was trying to cause drama in the house. Absolute narcissist, no doubt about it. So yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah, and Dr. Curry's evidence was that she highly exaggerated on the PTSD test. I mean, that's another lie of hers. She fucking bullshitted a psychologist. She's probably like, if I get 19 out of 20 questions right, I'll definitely be diagnosed with PTSD. And I think Dr. Curry said it's usually 2 or 3 symptoms on the list that indicate it. Like, the legitimate ones, I'm presuming, are buried within a whole long list. And then based on that, you know, they can diagnose PTSD because of the few boxes that people tick. But Amber's like, yep. I mean, the number of lies, take a shot every time Amber lies, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if Amber had that in her. I think the fact that they had such a short marriage and short relationship, like, the alarm bells were ringing very early on. I mean, Amber was recording shit before they even got married. I need to sit down and do timeline. I haven't got the exact dates and times of all the recordings and everything, but that was something that came out in a discussion I was listening to this morning, that Amber was recording long before they even got married, and if it was that bad, why would you then marry the guy? Again, there's no logic in anything that she's done, which is why it's so easy for Johnny's lawyers to reveal her for what she really is. Oh, Emily. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really sweet of you. Bless. All my little super chats go into a little bank account for Sunny. I rescue animals, floofs, primarily cats. But thank you so much. That's really lovely. A borderline and histrionic inherently have narcissism, whereas a narc NPD does not inherently have HPD or BPD, but all borderlines. Okay, so that's why it wasn't specifically identified. Although, interestingly, my first narc ex had NPD and BPD, which is why the doctor was like, run far. Not to me, to the ex-wife. The ex-wife and I became great friends, and she gave that advice to me. That's so lovely of you. So, Sunny, you got money in your bank account again. Because I blew it all. I blew the entire amount on a cat tower for her, but it's just a cylinder. It's not one of those ones with all the different things shooting out. I go to some friends' houses and their entire living room just looks like a massive cat tree, so I got her a very cute little column. That was really sweet of you, Emily. Is it your first time here? I really loved your comments, and all of the comments have been great. The contributions in chat have been awesome. Amber may have PTSD from childhood or whatever, but she's got a whole lot more going on. For entertainment purposes, in my opinion, allegedly. I know, I need to put that under I need that to be my permanent thing on my channel now too, because I'm going down the legal. I finally, my identity crisis with my channel is over. I've worked out what I want to do, so. God, it's starting to get dark here. It must mean I'm going to have to take my nap soon so that I can get up at midnight. I can't wait to see Amber on the stand. I do want to hear more about her childhood, because the mention of her being abused as a child I've only heard that for the first time in what's happened in the last 24 hours. So And it's hard because her mum is no longer with us. So I guess if Whitney gets called, that will be very interesting. Clearly for money and clout, she thought being his wife would make her a big star, but still no one cared about her. His being on drugs obviously didn't bother her that much because... Exactly. And some of these episodes that we all heard that were recorded were before they got married. So if he was that bad, why did she go on and marry him? And if he was that bad and she had a restraining order against him, why did she want to catch up with him? That is not the behaviour of a victim. I've never met a victim who's like, hey, you know what I want to do? Despite that restraining order against my incredibly violent husband who tried to murder me, could you arrange for us to meet up? Never happened, ever. Never would. And you wouldn't marry someone if they were abusive before the wedding. Like, it wasn't that far in. And she's, supposedly so sort of intelligent and self-assured and educated and, like, nothing she says is logical. And again, if you pair this right back to the defamation case, which is what this is about, so not pair it back to the defamation case, it is a defamation case, pair it right back to what this is about, defamation. And I said it a few times earlier on, so this is just for people that might have come in a bit later. The overriding question that I cannot shift from my mind is, with Amber's lawyers working so hard to portray Johnny Depp as an abusive partner, are they not just proving that the op-ed she wrote is about Johnny? And as that other witness said, did she have another violent, abusive ex-husband that article was about? I don't get it. I don't get why all this stuff is coming out. Like, don't get me wrong, I can't stop watching it. I'm captivated by it. It is a bit life of the rich and famous. But I've got to tell you, apart from the monetary stuff, like the fact that he owned all of those penthouses and $500 bottles of wine and never-ending drugs and so on and all the travelling, there's nothing, like, in terms of people I've spoken to, clients I've had, and even my own personal experience in abusive relationships, there's nothing unusual about it. There's nothing worse about it. Like, all the good times they had, and then occasionally they'd have these shitty times, although with Amber it was almost becoming daily, if not daily. But at the start it wasn't like that. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's come out in evidence that none of us would have experienced at some point in our lives, good or bad, apart from all the opulent lifestyle and the things that having all that kind of money. It's raining. Can you hear the rain on my roof? It's starting to get dark. I need to put lamps on and get all cozy in the heater. And yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked by anything. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's horrible hearing someone being abused. Don't get me wrong, I don't like hearing people fighting. I don't like seeing videos of... No, I don't. But there's nothing in this that is out of the ordinary. It's just a couple of people that weren't good together. And one of them should really never be with anyone. They're better off being on their own. And I've had a few clients with borderline personality disorder who have chosen to be single for that very reason, because they know they're not an ideal partner. I've had a partner with bipolar disorder who literally would just say, I'm disappearing for a while and I'll come back when I'm better. And he would just remove himself from everyone's world. He would take his laptop and he'd still work remotely and do his thing, but he wouldn't engage with friends or anyone. He could focus on his job and that was about it. And it was his own business too, so he wasn't letting a boss down or anything like that. Like, I've seen friends and people in my life with disorders who have learned how to manage it and moderate it. Sunny reminds you of your floofy guy. Yeah, she's a floof. Honey money for Sunny. Thank you so much, Emily. If Amber's lawyers believed in her, why'd they plead for the case to be dismissed? Don't think they're going to win the 100 mil. They know she's like, well, I mean, I didn't practice in the States, obviously, but my understanding is with civil matters, it's pretty similar. There's some terminology and stuff that changes, but a motion to strike is pretty common, and it's just an attempt. And I mean, it's 99.99% likely the motion to strike's not going to succeed. It's just part of the court proceedings to sort of say they haven't established anything, get rid of it. It's kind of like you don't have to do one, and they don't always do one. And I can't even remember I think it was a motion to strike here too, or is. But it's kind of like, and yeah, you're right, because a lot of people would question that, because if they did get up on the motion to strike, then they're essentially letting go of their counterclaim as well. Because that's part of this proceedings. It's not its own mini trial. It's not like we'll have the Johnny Depp trial and then that gets wrapped up and then we kick into the other one. They are all included. So yeah, many people would have the same thought, and it wasn't a particularly strong argument anyway. And then, but the brilliance of it was we got to see what Ben Chu's going to be like when he cross-examines Amber. So it was worth it for that. Yeah, I haven't seen the witness list. We haven't got access to any of the court documents. So I can't even... I don't even know if there's recordings of these alleged incidences of Amber's, but considering she recorded heaps of other shit, you'd think she'd have the tape on when she's in the bedroom with him, wouldn't you? If he's got this knack of throwing her on the bed, why wouldn't she record that? I think that's the thing you would record more than the other shit, where you're clearly admitting to being the abuser. See how none of his other girlfriends pushed to get married. Yep. Yeah, she is a hypocrite. I know, the drugs, exactly. She hasn't got it. And hey, Morgan. And Dr. Hughes gave evidence about all the drugs that she took. Or was it the nurse? One of them talked about it, the nurse. Magic mushrooms, cocaine. Oh, you did hear the rain. Yeah, she's fine. She's curled up asleep on her chair next to me. It's my co-host. She snores her way through. I think the story is captivating us because he's so gorgeous, but more than that, it's validating many of our own experiences. So many people never receive vindication or feel validated or hurt. Exactly, Emily. And that's the only benefit of this is that Johnny could afford to do this. And that's a sad reality. The beauty of him being able to do it and go with it and for it to be televised is brilliant, because unfortunately, it took someone wealthy to be abused to do this. And I think the ramifications go far beyond. I think Johnny's already got to tell his side of the story. I think as far as the eyes of the world go, I don't think people really care about the defamation being proven or not, because he's been treated badly. People saw those videos. I must admit, I saw the video of him in the kitchen and I was like, dude, you got a bit of a temper on you. That's not how I thought you would be. I've always thought you were pretty mellow in everything I've seen of you, interviews and stuff. I was surprised. That was my first reaction when I saw it. And I would imagine that a lot of people would have just gone, he's an abuser and a wife beater, and that was it. They didn't do any further investigating. So yeah, it's a really powerful matter, and that's why I was saying the other day too, this isn't about celebrity or him being a star or even people that like her. The ramifications of this trial go way outside of Hollywood. I think men are going to be so empowered by this. I think men are going to identify that they are in abusive relationships, and I think many women will as well. And these conversations will keep happening, and they won't be so embarrassing because they will be able to use this trial as a reference point rather than their own personal experience. They'll be able to talk to their mates like, hey, have you been watching the Johnny Depp trial? That stuff he said about Amber, that's what my missus has been doing to me for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? Like he's given men permission to speak up, and he's also given all of us to laugh even when there is a trial on where the horrors of a bad relationship are being put out there. Like, he's a victim, no doubt about it, from the evidence so far, and he's also given everyone permission to have a laugh as well, which is really beautiful. got a very sparse chat about Depp trying to upload. It's been hours. A lot of trigger words still pending. Yeah, what have you been up to, Morgan? So nice to see you, gorgeous. Oh, I'm going to have a swig of my mega pie. I haven't even had a bite of this muffin yet. So I'm putting the camera off because I don't like people seeing me eat on camera, but I really need to put some food in my mouth. I might actually have dinner and then go to bed. Like have a really early dinner when I get off this live and then go to bed with an alarm to get up. Because I'll be streaming live. And we've fixed the echo problem. Well, no, not we. Joey Wilson fixed the echo problem. My God. Please put vibes out there that tonight when I go live that it works. I'm so impressed with you, Joey. He kept sending Amber away after her impossible behaviour, but had to go get her again. Yeah. I always appreciate your wisdom and way with it. Thank you, Emily. This is so fun. This chat's a lovely chat. That's what I was saying, guys. Like tonight, if you do want to... If you're planning on watching the trial anyway... I mean, I am plugging my channel by suggesting this, but... I've been watching replays and all the last hour of a live, and there's thousands and thousands of people watching some channels, and the chat's just flying. Like, there's no way people are having chats in there. So, unless they're tagging each other and they see the orange name fly through. But the beauty is, in this one, we can all chat and, well, I mean, I've had trouble keeping up because you guys have all been chatting a lot, which is great. But everyone can kind of have a decent catch-up with each other in here too. Sunny. I haven't seen you for ages, Morgan. I've missed you. It's a very distracted chat. Couldn't get my words out. I think it's good to put whatever inspires you to speak up out there, you know, like the stuff I've watched of you, you're very down to earth and you're just being yourself and you make no apologies for that, nor should you. But yeah, I question things when they take a while to upload as well. Jack Sparrow can throw me happily and willingly on the bed. I could hear him say, "Who's your pirate? Where's the rum?" Oh my God, Scout. Who's your pirate? We've all got to start doing that instead of who's your daddy. I did say that in, I don't know what channel it was. I've been a bit cheeky with this trial in other people's chat. They were talking about Amber's surrogate baby and I put, "Who's your daddy?" in chat. And a few people were like, "Oh, who's this person?" And then my comment flew off the screen and was never mentioned again. But exactly. I mean, this is, look, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Emily wants to spoon. I don't want to spoon. I want to do way more than spoon. Yeah, dark humor's awesome. You were shocked? I was shocked when I saw you live. Exactly. Sort out your childhood shit as best as you can before the wedding. I know, the horror, Morgan. But let's all... Look, I mean, we can talk the legal side of it forever, but let's all be honest. At the end of the day, everyone's watching this going, all right, Johnny at times had a bit of a problem with prescription drugs, clearly loves a mega pint of wine from time to time. But, you know, he recognised that. He did try detoxing and he detoxed off the prescription drugs. And, yeah, he's a stoner. Yeah, he's a fan of the cunt word. I'd still shag him. You know what I mean? Like, he would have to be a million times worse than what we know about him from this trial, and I still wouldn't boot him out of my bed, except to shag him on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Let's all be honest. Now, admittedly, I think he's now, when I see him in court, I look at him and think he's adorable and cute. I don't see hot and sexy. But then Joe Wilson sent me the link to the video that he did for Marilyn Manson. He's sexy. But if you also go back and like look at, I saw a video of him and Winona when they were a couple, just looking at each other and giving each other that smile that you only give to your lover. Oh my God, his smile. But him sitting there eating the jelly beans with Ben Chew and all the giggling and everything, I'm just like, I just want to get stoned with you. I'd still shag him now, don't get me wrong. But I think we should all be honest. Everyone wants to shag Johnny, even straight dudes. The whole world has fallen in love. The whole world, the people of the world who are watching this all want to shag him or be his best friend. Cheers, that Troy. I want to colour. You want to colour with him at the trial? I want to colour with him at the trial time. I know. I want to see his little doodles. Did you guys see I know she's a bad word in America now, but did you see the elephant painting he gave Ellen DeGeneres? He's so talented. Like, you've got to listen to him sing and play the guitar, and then he can paint elephants. I want to colour with him. They'll be rocking up into court with a little basket for him with all these little craft items in it. I'm surprised they haven't started doing some macrame. They're so adorable, aren't they? And I love how Ben Chew just looks like he's not paying attention and he's wandering, his eyes, he's looking around the court and just looks so vague and stoned. And then he gets up and he's like this gun lawyer. Oh my God, I can't wait to see him cross-examine Amber. Emily, whose body paints? Ellen got into shit for being a really bad employer. Oh, I know. And why is the brunette broad now next to him? She's a bit of a looker. I liked it when he had the blue jacket lawyer next to him, the one that gave him the reassuring hug or pat on the shoulder when he finished testifying. I'm a bit jealous of that brunette too. But she's a bit too touchy with Johnny, which, I don't know, it's not great in public to do that when you're their lawyer. But he laughs at all of her jokes, so, she's a good egg. There's no one in his life that's shit except for his ex-wife. Think about it. Who in Johnny Depp's life is shit apart from Amber? Well, I know she's mostly sap, but they should mix it up a little. I hope that Ben Chew lets all of the team who want to have a crack at Amber. But I'd also be delighted if he does the whole thing, because having a look at his and a listen and a look to his argument against the motion to strike and pointing straight at Amber and calling her the abuser, he's going to be brilliant. And the jury already really like that. They're watching all of those antics. The jury is sitting next to the table where Johnny and his team are. So they would be able to see his little doodles and colouring ins and all the sweets. They're all going to get so chubby during this trial, though, because the pile of lollies is getting bigger. They're constantly chewing now. Those jelly beans. They're going to end up with like a giant glass punch bowl full of jelly beans on that table by the end of the trial. Emily. I love artists. At this point, I'd be okay with him taking his bloody badgered finger and painting me in blood. I'll be his colouring book. I know. She hugs Diane from Diane's channel. She comes in all smiley. But there were no smiles on her face when Ben Chew was standing up. The look of anger on her face. That's why I used that as my thumbnail. It made me laugh. She angry. That right up her bum face. Now it's pure anger. Artists are wonderful. Yes. You are behind again, the other side. But yeah, you're right. I want the friends, the ex-friends. I want Rocky, Raquel, and where's Io? And then there was another friend who used to be that one of the security guards talked about another girl that used to be in the gang, and something must have happened because she just suddenly wasn't in the gang anymore. There was another girl. And I guess Whitney would have been called by Johnny if she was going to be a solid prosecution witness. But if Whitney gets called up by the defence to defend her sister, I'd really like to see Ben Chu have fun with her too. I'm starting to think Whitney would be a better witness to watch than... I mean, don't get me wrong. We're all waiting for Amber's performance. But I love that she's constantly watching Johnny, but the one time he looked at her was when the tape was played of him cutting himself, and the one where he started crying. And then the look that he gave her is the only one I've noticed, but it was so powerful. He's just so broken, and just looking at her with such, how could you play this? How could you put this out for everyone to hear? It was a really heartbreaking moment. But she can't take her eyes off JD and his crew. But it's very interesting that, yeah, he looks over and just the look of pain in his face, it's heartbreaking. I think it's going to be breaking many records for sure, Scout. It's incredible how many people are invested in this trial. And it's not this... Well, look, don't get me wrong. There's probably a proportion that are watching it purely because of the celebrity angle, but most of us are watching it for the many angles. I mean, I'm fascinated by how this will impact domestic violence victims worldwide, especially male victims. I'm very fascinated by a legal perspective because there's so many things that just wouldn't have happened in Australia. That op-ed would never have been published in Australia, ever. In Australia, if you're accused of domestic violence, your name is withheld and it is only made public if you're convicted. Once you're found guilty, it's a free-for-all. But until then, you are accorded privacy. For this reason, this very reason. Fortunately, in Australia, we know how damaging a bullshit article about someone, even if they're not named, but the inference is there, can do to someone. But naming someone, and which Amber wanted in that op-ed, she wanted his name in there. And there's evidence of that. And now she's saying, it wasn't about Johnny. Well, it was about an abusive relationship. God, who's your other violent ex-husband? Bring him forward. If it's about him, show it, prove it. And that's what I'm really fascinated about is how is proving Johnny Depp to be an abuser going to prove that op-ed wasn't about him? It's doing the exact opposite. It's proving it was precisely about him. But there's so many other little quirks that people are following in it, It's got us all watching with bated breath, and everyone's got their own motivations. In fact, I'll wrap this live up. I'm curious to know, what is it about this trial that is your primary fascination? What is it that makes you keep watching it? I'll have to send pictures of the tall metal candle holders my best friend made me. He has a studio. Nice. You're even lower than I thought. I'm hoping you're all on some other topic. I don't know what that comment means. Codependence. Musicians are like that. They're complete. They are. And he is. That was another thing I said, that he was very truthful right from the start. He's a musician. He's not an actor. I mean, he obviously has had an incredibly successful acting career, but he's a musician through and through. His personality, introverted, quiet, private. We are uncivilized in the States, no decorum. It's amazing how rich yet trashy Americans seem to be. What an accomplishment. I love Americans that can see the flaws in their own country. I can see the flaws in mine too, and I get criticised by some one-eyed Aussies as well. But hello from Florida, Turtle Dove. How are you? But yeah, 3 hours of me battering on, and I'll be back again in, what is it? It's nearly 4 p.m. here, so in about 8 hours we'll be going live. And if you want to just come and watch the trial and be in a chat where we can all join in, I thoroughly recommend you coming to this channel. You can go and watch the channels with 50,000 people, but I don't know why anyone would. I mean, I'll be doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to be streaming it. If there are breaks in the trial, like when they take their 15-minute breaks, we'll all be able to chat. I'll put my mic on and away we go. And if there's a gap, like of the witnesses swapping over, or if there's a gap in what's happening, I might quickly jump in with a comment. But if you want to come and watch it on my channel, I will be streaming it as well. And at least we'll all be able to engage with each other and chat about it. You'll be here. Oh, yay, Morgan. Yeah, I'll be streaming it all day. So, yeah, I'll be getting up at midnight. I'll be getting up just before midnight. And getting the stream set up and going live. And we'll chat a bit at the start because it takes a while for them to get all organised. Oh, cool. A few of you are going to be here. Wicked. Thank you. But I've been watching it on other channels and you can't participate in their chats because their chats are just going a million miles an hour. And a few of the channels that are live have panels and there's a lot of talking over the proceedings, and I really want to minimize that. I don't want to do that unless, it's like, holy shit, wasn't that cool? Like a little throw a quick comment in when no one's speaking, but I don't want to go live and chat over the top of it. We'll be watching it, but when there's little breaks between witnesses or the 15-minute breaks or even the lunch break, well, we can whack on the mic, and it means you can just have it playing, you can pop into chat, you can, make your lunch and do the dishes and do whatever you need to do. And yeah, I'll be streaming it here. You'll be popping in. Woohoo! It's a party. It's going to be a watch party, Morgan. Pop in when you're not distracted with work. I would have loved to have been able to watch this from work, but I can't. My job's just too intensive. But I'm very excited that they're saying Amber is going to be on the stand like tomorrow in the US. So I was worried that it wouldn't happen until I go back to work next week. But there's also going to be a break in the trial from Monday the 9th. So next Monday till Thursday the 12th, those 4 days is a break. The judge has to go to a conference. Oh shit, hang on. Hello, I shoved some muffin in me gob. Now I can put my camera back on. You'd want to mute your ass. I'm happy too. Like during the breaks, we could go, okay, who wants to jump up on panel quickly? Let's have a bit of a chat, and we can do that for 15 minutes, and then I'll kick you all off, and we'll keep the stream going. Let's keep rolling on. Nice to see you, Mel Mel. Hi, my boo. In other news, the grass is green and the sky blue. And in other news, there are still channels going live every day talking about Chris Watts. Mm-hmm. In other news, there are still channels going live bitching about other YouTubers. Yeah, I think they're going to... I can't wait to see her. She's such a Karen. Got my mega pint of iced coffee, Mel Mel. You'll be proud of me. Look, a mega pint. There's only one boo in Mel Mel's life. When she's not talking about her son, Blake, because I've heard her call him boo as well. Question, Tor, are you Natalia or Linley? I'll give you a clue. See, Mel Mel, they still talk about us. Does that answer your question? Emily, I'm Linley. I'm Linley. Actually, Mel Mel, please tell me there's possibly an hour over the weekend we can do what we talked about. We have to do it. We have to do it. Even half an hour, I don't care. Please, it's the time. her attorneys do have to rip into Dr. Stupid. In other news, America is doomed by the mega Karens. Everything's going to have a mega in front of it now. The mega pint. Yeah. Yeah. Does that mean, yeah, we'll do it? Because, I mean, the timing is ripe. And clearly Emily misses us. Emily, watch this space. There may be some more of us for you to enjoy. We've got an idea and it's kind of funny. It's very... The sparkler gets you every... I know, that got me too. And Sunny, poor thing. She not likey. You have found some funny women on this corner of YouTube. Yeah. I mean, I think... I was going to say, I think if you check out a few Aussie channels, you'll find quite a few funny. There's some really serious Australians on YouTube, which is so weird to me. There's some really serious, angry Australians on YouTube. Not Mel. Mel and I are kind of... and Joey, we're all about having fun. And we can laugh at ourselves and take the piss out of ourselves, which is a very Aussie thing to do. But I can't lie, there's a lot of Australian YouTubers who are not very Australian in the way they behave on YouTube. They're very snarky and angry and butthurt and grumpy and unrealistic and demanding. Like, they're not radiating typically Australian qualities at all. We are hatching a plan. Karen's, Dawn's and Elaine's. I keep referring to Elaine as Diane from Diane's channel because that's what she sounds like. I mean, I know her name's Elaine, but it's Diane from Diane's channel. And when they're talking about Amber not giving the $3.5 million to the children's hospital with kids dying of cancer, I'm like, it's St. Jude's and Diane's channel all over again. And then you've got the lawyer for Amber who sounds like Diane's channel. I'm like, is anyone else saying this? And this might freak a few people out too, but occasionally I look at Judge Penny and I'm like, that might be what Bella Watts would have looked like when she grew up. I haven't told anyone that. I'm going to see if anyone reacts to that comment. But I kind of look at her face and go, she's sort of a bit Bella Wattsy. Like, she's kind of got the baby Bella Watts face. Anyone else seen that? Or is that just me? I'm surrounded by mega Karens. I fear I'm one of their self-aware clones. What, Turtle Dove, you're welcome here. Karens are welcome here. And Darrens and Kevins and all of them's. Aussies are your favourite funny. Yeah, you've always got us. You've always understood us, Morgan. Thank God somebody has to. All right, so Morgan's not saying that. I think Emily's laughing. Is she laughing at the real and the secret sexless meetings in Southwest Florida? You should listen to my Smooth Criminal podcast and what I do when there's a story from Florida. I've got another channel, like it's a true crime podcast, but it's funny as fuck crimes. And Florida has a very special role in it. If you have never heard any of them, it's Smooth Criminal Podcast is the channel on YouTube. I am planning on doing a season 3 one day. But to make this more legit, you have Molly Goes Sloppy, who blew the whistle on Diane at the... What? See? Tawny C sees it. Tawny C... Yeah, a cute little girl, Bella Watts. I see it now that you mentioned it. We can't. Oh, thank you, Morgan. I'll put a picture of Judge Penny up. Like, I'm not saying dead ringer, but there's just some moments when she's speaking that I kind of see a bit of a Bella Watts face. Here we go. I apologise to the gorgeous little Bella Watts if people think this is weird, but obviously I'm not the only one, right? And I'm not saying dead ringer, and you've got to picture Bella Watts as an adult and vice. Like, I'll show you. Can you see what I'm seeing? Stupid Elaine arguing with the judge. I mean, I'm not going to start calling Judge Penny Bella Watts, but it's just an observation I made. No one likes your jokes here because your observations are directed towards them. We love your jokes here, Turtle Dove. Keep a joking. No, poor Bella, I know. She has an innocent... She does have an innocent... And her reaction to Alejandro Ramirez after he's driving and vaping and swigging on Mountain Dew while giving testimony. Oh, my God. The greatest witness of all time. God love him. There's been so... This is the thing, the Johnny side... The people have all just been so down to that Connolly guy. I mean, I keep calling him Billy Connolly, but that security, the Scottish security guy was God. I loved Amber's ex-Australian PA. So many people were like, fuck, she's a bit blunt. I'm just watching her going, oh my God, she's brilliant. She was such a good witness too. Like, there've been some gems. There've been quite a few gems. Oh, I think everyone's got a mega Karen. You think it's the eyebrows? You can see it now? What have I done? We're all going to be watching and you're all going to be going, fuck, the judge really does look like Bella Watts. My mega forehead. You've got a beautiful face, Turtle Dove, and mega brain are the only reason I've survived the mega Karens. All right. Molly Golightly blew the whistle on Diane's cancer scam, and that same Molly Golightly went to the Virginia trial because she's such a Hollywood journo. Well, she didn't actually blow the whistle on the scam. It was Corey and Tiffany Marie. Molly jumped on the bandwagon. It's quite funny. There's another true crime. There's two true crime channels that were like, I'm not really following the Johnny Depp trial, not interested, that are now following it and streaming it. It's like, yeah. Bandwagon ahoy. But she was only there for a few days. But I must admit, every time they show footage of them rocking up each day and leaving, and don't you love like Johnny rocking up with the music choices that are blaring? When he got out this morning, walking into the court, he's like, we've got to stop meeting like this. People are going to start talking. And I was thinking, that should be a ringtone. We should all have Johnny Depp saying that to us every time our phone rings. I'd be like, Mel, call me 50 times a day. We've got to stop meeting like this. People will start talking. And he's hamming it up to the crowd out the front. But the screaming and not protesting, the booing of Amber and the screaming. I'm like, that's the sort of shit Heels on the Ground, Heels on Wheels should have been doing. That's effective. It's very entertaining. It's very, I don't like people being booed generally, but if someone else is going to do it, I'm not going to lie. I do find it kind of mildly entertaining. But I love the way he's just having fun with them and waving, and the whole thing's just precious. Oh, in America? No, you belong in Australia, Turtle Dove. See, Morgan can see it. Yeah, she's not an egomaniac prick. She's very naive. Not naive, but very innocent. Oh, that's all right. None of us can around here. Oh, no, the makeup. Oh, no. The questions about the makeup. And then, fucking hell, why wasn't there an objection, lack of foundation, straight after the question to him about foundation? Objection, Your Honour. I would have done that just to amuse, like a little illegal joke. When he was paying it, did you notice any eyeliner or mascara, any blush, any rouge? Did you recognise? Did you notice any foundation? Oh, seriously. Just to give all the lawyers a chuckle in court, I would have gone, objection, Your Honour, lack of foundation. Every time there was mention of it, did you notice, when she was on the island, did you notice Amber was wearing any makeup? No, I don't believe she was. Objection, Your Honour, lack of foundation. I wouldn't have been able to help myself. I see, I'm getting so tired. I'm getting, I'm getting silly. I'm getting twitty. Oh, me too, Mama. That's the thing. The laughs are fantastic. I think Andrew Pandry's put up, I think I watched it yesterday, a version, like episode number 4 of his Johnny being hilarious in court. So we'll end with that. Have a little laugh at the end. But yeah, because there's this kind of, the judge has tolerated so much mirth and hilarity in the courtroom. Like, it's not out of control, but she's let them get away with a lot more than a lot of other judges would have. There's so many opportunities for little funny moments, and I would have been objecting to a lack of foundation. Deliriously tired as him. I know I'm going to be. Look, I might have a little siesta during the trial. Not going to lie. If there's a boring witness, I might just turn my camera off and go and lie on the couch behind me. But I'll be listening in. And I will be doing it. I'm going to have a sleep. So it's nearly, it's 4 o'clock now. So if I head to bed shortly and set an alarm, batshit's tomorrow night. And I'm trying to talk Finn into doing it as late as possible so I can then just roll straight into the live coverage of the trial. They have started, Mel. Yeah, they started with Dr. Hughes, who's a Karen. I've already ripped her to shreds. She's very biased. She was talking about domestic violence and repeatedly referred to the victim in female. So she, her, women, and the perpetrators were always him, his, he. Not a fan. Hearsay papers. Yesterday I saw my Karen at the local Dollar General, so I got trash bags, latex gloves, duct tape and a funnel. I stopped by her and said I have a hot date. Yeah, Elaine asked the house exactly. I guess she didn't ask Amber if she had a skin condition. It would be rude. And this, oh my God, I know hearsay papers. Oh, you saw her? Yeah, she did. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, look, to be honest, Johnny cracking up at Billy Connolly being asked about, or was it, yeah, it was Billy, who was it? No, it was Billy Connolly, about Johnny wanting to urinate in the foyer. And Johnny's initial reaction when that comes out, he's like, what the fuck? And then Billy Connolly's like, I think I would remember seeing Johnny Depp's penis. And the whole world was like, we all want to see Johnny Depp's penis. We'd remember it too. Oh my God. It is gold. It is gold. No, the pearl bracelet didn't match. No, it didn't. I know the Bukaki jewelry set wasn't mismatched. She could never truly appreciate a pearl. I can't handle it when Diane from Diane's channel /Elaine says vagina and pussy. I lose my shit. I can't deal with it. No, I can't. Inserted a bottle in a vagina. I'm like, can you not, Diane's channel? Can you not say pussy and vagina ever again? No. I can't handle it. It's so weird. Like, you could wheel some 112-year-old woman into the courtroom who says pussy and vagina repeatedly and I'd love it to bits. But when it's coming out of the mouth of a woman who sounds like Diane from Diane's channel, and Elaine is such a weirdo. But Rottenborn, look, in all seriousness, Rottenborn was doing some really good cross-examination, but I think nobody noticed it because they've just become known as the revolting legal team. Like, no one likes them. Endear yourself to the jury first, and then when you do have to be a bit brutal in cross-examination, no juror is going to dislike you for that because they know that's what happens. They see it on Law and Order, like it's no shock. People have got a vague idea of what goes in a courtroom if they've ever watched a courtroom drama or a movie with a court scene. Like, you learn pretty quickly that lawyers can get pretty in cross-examination. But yeah, Rottenborn did do some good cross-examining, but I don't think the jury would have even noticed the point that he was trying to make. I reckon they don't care. Whereas Ben, who they've been watching, Johnny's lawyer, they're going, fuck, he's almost asleep. And then he's just got up today and Amber Heard is the abuser. And I'm like, fuck. And that entire submission of his, I thoroughly, if you're going to watch any replays from what happened, that's a bit to watch. That was the money shot today. Pure wasp rage is rampant in the States. Sweet dreams to you. 2 a.m. is it? Sweet dreams, Scout, and may see you when the court kicks off at midnight in Australia. I know. I did think about that. I thought, oh, this would have been so much easier if this trial had happened when I was in my 30s and still a fairly prolific comedian and hanging out at festivals and had access to the white things. We'll soldier on. I didn't even buy any Red Bulls or anything. I don't do those sorts of drinks, but I'll be all right. If I get a bit of a snooze in now, I'll be fine. I need to be as fancy as fuck. It was like a gay pastor shaming the sexually healthy. The short-haired Diane from Diane's channel. What if Elaine and Ron Pawn are banging? No, I can't handle Amber. Hi, and gives her a big hug. I'm thinking, no. Nah, you poor thing. You think she's your friend? I reckon half the time Amber's legal team are just going, we're fucked, we're doomed. We were once good lawyers with promising careers or good careers. This is fucking up our reputation because I wouldn't hire any of them after this, especially the dude who objected to his own question. And the young version of Rottenborn? Oh, no. Oh, he was just rapid fire and rude and barreling over the top. And I reckon if the jury is the same sort of age as him and male, they would have been going, you're not representing a clan very well, mate. He was terrible. Baby Rottenborn. I mean, he was effective, don't get me wrong. He was very good, actually, but unbearable. Like, he would have been my worst nightmare in court going up against someone like him. Effective as fuck, but just the worst person. I would not have had drinks after the session with him, no way. I'm doing an all-nighter, Mel. I know. Yeah, the lawyer is the short-haired woman. For Amber, she sounds like Diane from Diane's channel. I'm ruining this for everyone because I've got Elaine, Amber's lawyer, sounds like Diane from Diane's channel. The judge looks like Bella Watts. May little Bella rest in peace, but she does. I've got everyone agreeing. And we've got baby Rottenborn, exactly. Rottenborn Jr. 2.0. He's a little shit. I hope he doesn't get to do much stuff. I think he was awful. I mean, the witness that he questioned was a twit anyway, so it didn't really matter. Johnny's last batch of witnesses was shocking. The American dream is dying on a megapint vibe. Well, you need to move to Australia. Florida is considered the Australia of the US anyway, so. All right, let me get Andrew Pandrews up. We'll end with him because we always like to end with a laugh because I have seen it, yes. This is the one with the alpacas. It's alpaca day. Johnny gave us permission to laugh. That's another reason why this has just been so fabulous because, my God, he's been put through hell. I'm not saying he didn't give it back to her, but the fact that he's able to laugh and everything is just so refreshing. And, since the lawyer... Well, I'm just worried if I start calling her Diane and some randoms stumble into my live stream tonight because they go, oh, fuck, there's someone streaming and I can actually chat with people. Because I do think that's the strength of a smaller community and a smaller chat is we'll all be able to chat and have fun and people will be propping their eyelids open and saying I'm making my 20th coffee. Like, I think it's going to be great fun, the chat. So some people might go, fuck it, let's go and hang in there. And if I'm calling her Diane, they'll be like, her name's Elaine. Anyway, let's see what Andrew Pandrew has delivered for his 4th instalment of Johnny Depp, being hilarious in court. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And yeah, 4:11 p.m. I know, isn't it crazy? I get vertigo. Well, I go cross-eyed and I feel like I need to lie down and throw up at the same time. So if everyone just wants to come and hang in a chat where we can actually chat, I'm streaming it. I'm watching it anyway, so I might as well just hit the go live button. But now we're going to put on... I want to thank Joey Wilson again for fixing the echo problem on my live streaming, which is awesome because I don't have to wear headphones. Woo! And thanks to everyone who's been hanging out in chat. And I might see you in a few hours. So, you don't have to pay any money to be acknowledged, but thank you too for the donation to the Sunny Fund, Emily. That was really sweet of you. Okay. Andrew Pandrew, take it away. Why'd you gotta poop the bed?
So, pocketbook.
Describe the look on his face when you believe it registered that you're standing here without packets.
He just looked surprised and kind of happy as he was driving by.
Yeah.
I charge for my time.
Yeah,
And it's the same time.
you answer my
I
question, sir. In
charge-
fact, you charge $710 an hour for your time, don't you?
Counsel, if you let me complete my answer, I'll
No,
be happy to respond.
Sir, please try to stick to the question that I'm asking you. You've had your chance to go well beyond the question being asked, but if you could just please stick to the question I'm asking you, it would go a lot faster.
I don't think your microphone was on there. It's not really badgering, it's not
Yeah,
an
thank you.
objection, but that's all right. So just if you could answer the question that's asked. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I
Let me start over, sir. You charge Mr. Depp $710 an hour.
am told that the payments in the future have to go directly to her.
This is clear hearsay. He's not answering the question. I would ask for you to instruct him to answer the question and not expound.
I love this swamp. Hi, Sunny. She's up on the table with me.
What role did you play with respect to the payments ultimately made?
And in fact, you're being paid for the time that you're sitting on that witness stand today, aren't you?
No,
Your main contact with Mr. Depp and his companies is his sister, Christy Dombrowski, correct?
no,
One of your colleagues maintains active communication with Christy Dombrowski, correct?
It's
Could
my
you ask
iced
the question
coffee.
again, Counselor?
One of your colleagues maintains active communication with Christy Dombrowski, correct?
No.
Can you turn to page 116 of your deposition transcript?
Certainly.
Did I read that right?
Yes, but you
That was my
need to
question.
find the
I
term.
read that.
I really like this guy.
Part of the services that you provide, that your firm provides to Mr. Depp, is Mr. Depp owed significant amount of money to the Bank of California at that time, correct?
No.
In layman's terms that I can understand, because I don't speak all the kind of business school terms that you speak. He didn't have enough money at the time, correct? He was spending more than he was bringing in, correct? That news that he was given that night was catastrophic, wasn't it?
No.
Question, now Mr. Depp was given some catastrophic news about his business. Answer, that is correct. Did I read that right?
You did, but remember,
That was just
when
my
I get a
question.
chance
You
to
answered my
respond,
question, sir. You answered
I
my
did not find that.
Sir, you'll have a chance, the attorney will get back up and redirect you, okay? So you just answer his question, that's fine.
Now, you, at this meeting, you had a discussion about his financial affairs and the necessity to formulate a revised business strategy and plan, correct?
Yes.
And you talked about the following financial information. You talked about his taxes. He hadn't paid
Oh my God,
taxes.
hang on. Did you see the caption?
No, that's not correct. That he's not.
See, I was
paid.
defending...
Talked about the following.
I was defending the girl in the blue jacket who's been bumped behind Johnny, but I preferred her sitting next to him to the brunette. But look at the little caption that comes up near her, the blonde girl in the blue jacket behind the brunette.
Strategy and plan, correct?
See, I'm not the only one who's picked up on the injustice of Blue Jacket Girl being put in the back row. Anyway, we'll keep going.
Yes.
And you talked about the following financial information. You talked about his taxes. He hadn't paid taxes in years, correct?
No, that's not correct. That he had not paid any taxes in years is not correct.
But I just would like to move these into evidence. I don't plan to publish them or anything at this point.
Any candy left? No, I hate it all.
You understood that Mr. Depp showed up hours late for work on Pirates 5, correct?
That is not correct.
Just asking if
Going to
that's what you
contribute
wrote. I'm just asking if that's what you wrote, sir.
You asked me a question. I'm trying to respond.
No, I was actually just asking if that's what you wrote.
It was my understanding she was going to contribute the money. and that's
Okay, sir,
consistent with
I
my
just
response.
asked if that's what you wrote. I think you've answered that. Can we please pull up exhibit 1596? I understand that you want to speak your own narrative here, but my question was simply that this letter says that this check represents the first of multiple scheduled installments to honor the full amount of Miss Heard's $3.5 million pledge gift, correct?
We can both read the letter. The answer is yes.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
And would you please state your full name for the record?
Malcolm Connolly.
And Mr. Connolly, where are you testifying from at the moment?
From home.
From home.
UK.
And where do you live?
And where do you live?
Essex, UK.
I live in Essex, UK.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, hold on, Mr. Conklin.
Oh, this is the one with the penis comment. I love the floating turd too.
I think Jack Sparrow's more drunk than Johnny Depp.
So that's marijuana. What about alcohol? Same question.
And then you went in the house and saw Mr. Depp in the foyer, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Mr. Depp was trying to urinate in the foyer, wasn't he?
No.
Mr. Depp had his penis out of his pants,
Objection.
didn't he?
I think I would remember
Relevance.
seeing Mr. Depp urinating.
Next question.
And you were trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, correct?
Correct, I was trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, yes.
And Mr. Depp was refusing to leave the house, was he not?
Not so much refused, he just wanted 2 minutes to see his piece.
Don't we all love whatever music's playing when he rocks up each day and leaves each day? He's got his mega pint.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Why'd you gotta poop on the car? All right, Groovers. Like Johnny said this morning, we've got to stop meeting this way. People are going to start talking. See you at midnight Australian Eastern Standard Time, or whatever time it is in the world for you when the trial commences. Like I said, it'll be fun to have a stream going here too if people just want to go to a channel where they can actually chat with each other and hang out as well. And until then, stay groovy, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me.